Alrighty, folks, welcome on in.
And if you can't believe it, it's a Friday once again.
All right, folks, it is Friday once again. Can you believe it? Another week went by real fast, and we have quite a day for you today. I want to just say, isn't it incredible just how much Kaceytron won? It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. You have a millionaire who doesn't really want to have a legal case. He knows he's doing a frivolous lawsuit, and his goal is to ruin someone's life with legal fees. And then what ends up happening is he gets some piddly monetary settlement and an apology that was delivered like a perfect hostage video. And his reputation is even worse. Now, if you guys don't know about copyright trolls and patent trolls, this is a major problem in America's legal system, and we need some reforms. I actually do want to, I think Hassan should speak to AOC about this, because I think this is a piece of legislation she could pass that we on the internet need, which is we need like an anti-slap provision for good faith attempts at criticism and critique. We need fair use to be better codified, and we need to have penalties for vexatious fair use copyright lawsuits like Ethan Klein is doing. Because the problem that we have in our society is that lawyers are very expensive. And so if you have a rich person and they're willing to lose money on the lawsuit, they could cost you money defending yourself. And that system is fucking broken. And that's bullshit. I'm not in favor necessarily of loser pays in most lawsuits, because obviously that protects the rich. Because if you are scared about losing, like if there's any chance you lose a case, you might not sue out of fear that you have to pay some expensive legal bill on the other side. But I do think in things like copyright lawsuits, loser pays might be a good idea, because who's suing people for copyright? Rich fucks. And so I think we need to have reform. But Kaceytron is the queen. She showed you exactly how it's done, which is, yes, it does suck that she had to pay some small amount of money towards the lawsuit. Basically all Ethan Klein wanted was her to be like embarrassed and humiliated and financially ruined, and he didn't succeed on any of those points. He's a fucking loser. He's a complete fucking loser. I do want to say one thing that's very important, which is do not use any kind of chargebacks on GoFundMe, because based on how much money Kaceytron made from her GoFundMe, my bet is that Kaceytron used pretty much all of her GoFundMe on lawyer fees, and there's nothing left. So if you charge back, you're actually helping Ethan Klein, because you're helping put financial pressure on Kaceytron, which is why he's saying like, oh my God, I can't believe these people are charging back. That's not fair. He's saying that because he wants you to charge back. This is the first time Ethan Klein has ever tried to do anything intelligently or subtly. So that's not correct. That's not correct. Don't do that. They're wrong. None of the GoFundMe money is going to Ethan Klein. There isn't any GoFundMe money left. He just made her say that. Okay, like, and the reason why he made her say that is because he doesn't want you funding Denham's lawsuit. Denham's can afford to pay for the lawsuit all the way through trial, but that's assuming she keeps getting support from the community. If people are afraid to support her because they think she's going to settle, she might not be able to pay, and he might be able to win without ever going to trial. And that's his goal. He doesn't want to go to trial and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on trial and then lose. So absolutely do not charge back. That's the reality. Okay. And here's the other thing. I want you guys to know something. No judge has really heard this case yet. No one has really looked at the evidence. No one has really looked at the facts and made any kind of determination yet. So that's what Ethan Klein is trying to avoid. He's trying to avoid a judge hearing all the times he said he was going to use the legal system to harass people. He's trying to avoid having his, like, the evidence actually presented to a neutral third party. He doesn't want that. So it's important that you continue to support the people that are in lawsuits now. And you know, my general sense and my general feeling is these people that are being sued by Ethan Klein, he picked them intentionally because he thought they wouldn't be able to carry, they didn't have the clout and they didn't have the support in order to take a case all the way to trial. And so that's why he's, you know, doing this attack on the GoFundMe. Do you think she would put it in there? Do you think she would put it in the statement? I'm giving all the GoFundMe money to Ethan Klein. He wrote the whole goddamn thing. So if you're doing anything based off of that statement, then you should know it's what Ethan Klein wants you to do. Yep, he said early on that they will all settle and it's not going to trial. That's incorrect. Denims is going to trial. So he miscalculated. He miscalculated, and Denims is going to win. There's a variety of reasons to think Denims is going to win, but the one that's actually the most important is that she did fair use. Like there's no way you could argue she stole his video. Her video was a complete and thorough critique of his entire video, which, by the way, he did the same thing to the content cop. So it would be, he's coming to court with unclean hands. He's saying doing this is copyright infringement while he does it himself. That is right now, like, he has no leg to stand on. He's fucked. Logically, legally, like, there is no ground for him to stand on. And when the statements of his bad faith come out, like, there's a reason he had to settle with Kaceytron. It's because the mediator saw it and said, you better settle. Because if the mediator report had gone to a real judge, you know, it would have been really bad for Ethan Klein. They would have seen that it was bad faith and vexatious. And most of his clips are not his copyright. Exactly. That's exactly right. He just took some. That's the most important thing to understand about Ethan Klein's video is not all copyright is the same. If you're making a creative work like a novel or a movie or a book, and it has original characters and it's based on a world you created, or you know what I mean? That's different than you making a commentary video on other people's videos. That's not, you're not going to be able to copyright that entire video as if it's some sort of creative work. It is intended to be commented on. It's intended to be critiqued. That is the nature of commentary. Can you imagine if the New York Times started suing everybody who made a comment about their opinion pieces? That would destroy free speech. So his entire legal argument is garbage. The only reason he was able to get this settlement at all is because Kaceytron doesn't want, and it's not prudent for Kaceytron to spend all her money on lawsuits and then not even be guaranteed a return. Like, that's the reality. So he picked Denims. That was dumb because she's going to take him all the way to trial. He's going to lose horribly. Why the fuck is Mike using that title then? Clickbait ass, because she won. Because she actually won. The best analogy to make is imagine a country attacked another country unprovoked, illegally, and they fought a battle and the attacking country lost and retreats. Does that mean there's no casualties from the defender? Does that mean there's no damage on the defender? No. Fighting battles costs lives. It destroys property. It destroys equipment. It sucks, but it still means it's a victory if the attacker does not achieve their objective. Ethan Klein did not achieve his objective. His objective was for people to like him and for him to ruin the lives of these women. He failed on all possible counts. Him getting some small amount of money and a extorted apology is not a victory. Everybody's going to look at that and go, oh my God, he's a piece of fucking shit. She had so many people coming out in support of her, even people like the actress who plays Lisa in Yellow Jackets who are calling out Ethan over this. The normies hate him. Exactly. Everybody who's not part of the bubble of anti-Hassan right-wing content creation is against this. Everybody who's normal sees this and goes, it fucking sucks. So she beat his fucking ass, and it's going to be really funny what Denims does to him. That's the thing that's really going to be funny. Holy shit, that's going to be fucking hilarious. If that's true, why do you feel the need to cover it every day? Because this is literally what I do. Are you okay, you're banned. Bye. Bye. Thanks for being here since 2019. You're banned. Bye. Bye to new streamer. Fucking douchebag. 7 years of your life down the drain. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I make commentary and critique videos and streams, and Kaceytron has been my friend for a long time. Do you need any more? Question? Did you see Hassan reacted to Asmod's racist rant yesterday? Oh my Lord in heaven. It's not even if it was not my friends or whatever, it is also what I do. I do critique and commentary videos and streams. You don't think a vexatious, frivolous lawsuit, which directly legally impairs my stream, is I'm going to talk about it one time and then let it rot while people are fucking with Casey? You're stupid. The lawsuit is important to keep up to date because of precedent. You say president, but president could impact all reaction content one way or another. Yes.
That most of us are citizens. On our passport, it says
For now.
Yeah, again, pathetic, weak, insecure for now. Leaning on the government to do harm to random people, including congresspersons. This is a power fantasy. For now. One day we'll get our revenge.
Did he register the video with the Library of Congress? Why do you think, by the way, okay, so we have ourselves a dumb fuck who created an alternate account who's arguing. He registered the video with the Library of Congress. Why do you think this matters? Why do you think this creates some sort of magic where he can now suddenly steal other people's videos? But because he ran to the Library of Congress and registered his slop video, you think that suddenly takes away our copyright? He did it so he could try to get statutory damages because he is a vexatious litigant. This is legalism. Are you stupid? I mean, yes, you are. Who gives a fuck? He was taking other people's clips to make his video. Take everybody else's copyrighted content out of his video, and his video sucks shit. It doesn't even have any structure to it. You don't need permission to do fair use. So, again, you're dumb. By the way, you shouldn't have to have fair use. You're telling me somebody making a commentary video about Donald Trump needs to get permission from Donald Trump to comment on his content? You think I should have to get permission from the government in order to criticize the government? Notice how you got mad. No one got mad. You're just dumb and you're a troll. Goodbye. Like that. No one got mad. I'm not mad. You're just gone for being stupid. Like legitimately, you presented that like it's an argument. Like you understand that you look like a dumbass. Guys, he registered other people's content with the Copyright Office. That makes it good. That means it's his content now. That's not how it works. Copyright is attached the moment you create something. Registering it with the Copyright Office does not change copyright law. The moment I make this video on Twitch, it's my copyright. Anyway, and it's interesting how people that use Twitch, I mean, like, God, you guys gotta, you need to be more thoughtful with what you say. Chatter came in there to talk about the shock collar. Yeah, no. Oh no, the shock collar again didn't affect Hassan at all because no one cares. Shock collars are incredible. The thing that's funniest about the shock collar narrative is like, even if it was true, millions of people are using shock collars, and it's an extremely widely sold and legal training aid. Now, I don't personally think it's effective. I think dogs perform best from positive reinforcement. It's like going, I can't believe Hassan ate meat. I mean, to a certain type of person, that's relevant, but to like regular people, at the end of the day, it's a Reddit obsession, but then it goes away. If it's true, it's obviously not true. That's why people are mad. That's why people are saying it, because there's no actual evidence. And they tricked you. They fucking fooled you. They fucking fooled you. And now you have to chat in order to protect your ego because you got fooled by like Destiny and Ethan Klein. I mean, I would try to come up with some ego assuagement if I got fooled by those level of idiot. A member of Trump's administration, you mean the head of Homeland Security, shot a dog in cold blood? Yeah. Oh God, this Northern Lion quote never goes wrong.
He sold again? Yeah, that time I was tapped, man. That time I had 6 jokers. It's okay to backseat, but you at least gotta pay like a little bit of attention. I know you're like, no, but like, otherwise you run the risk. I mean, we lost like a lifetime chatter to something like that. Like they spent their whole life chatting, and then they said something demonstrably wrong with an emote, and I replied and said that's wrong, and they said it feels good to be noticed, and I said see you in the on-ban requests, and they have not returned to the on-ban requests, I'm sorry to say. Really scraping the bottom of the barrel,
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes. And the thing about me is I don't really review the unban requests. If I ban you, you're pretty much fucked. Like, if I ban you, you're pretty much fucked. Because it's pretty hard to get banned by me.
When my streamer won't dedicate himself to boring ass fucking 60-hour-a-week streams of Tekken 8, well, I tell him, no, you have to do quarter circle forward high punch instead of quarter circle forward mid punch. No! Shut the fuck up. Really scraping the bottom of the barrel is fucking 10:47 on a Thursday in February. I'm at work, you asshole. Shut up. What are you doing right now? I got called out. Yay. See you in the unban request, brother. They chose their fate. But I have to think that, you know, they didn't choose their fate all at once, right? Like if I was like, do you want to be perma-banned? They would have been like, no. But like instead, we just took it one step up over and over, right? It was like the Cold War all over again. It was the frog in the boiling pot of water. Good for him to not return to a guy who shit on him in front of 9,000 people. Bro, he was trolling. Back in my day, 20 years ago, the trolls were fucking goblins, bro. They were like, they knew that they were doing bad things and irritating people. And then when people got irritated, they typed "you mad" and they won. They got permad, but they understood that they were the villains. Now the trolls are like, does anybody else think that this person should be locked in a mental hospital? And then when someone's like, you have been permanently banned from the chat, they're like, I was just talking. You are my friend. Like, what? Bro, go back to being a gremlin. Go back to being like a little demon in the wires instead of like, well, I was just asking questions. Disingenuous so-and-so.
My ultimate feeling about banning people is I really don't like it. I really don't like to ban someone because I don't like ostracization in general. And I don't like the way that we ban people in general. Like, I don't like it because I feel like it creates a psychic trauma. Like the guy I banned earlier, I mean, he's been here since 2019, and then he just says something really, really stupid, and then he's gone for good. I mean, how many mornings has he woken up, tuned into the Mike from PA stream, and now he's fucking gone? Because it just never sunk in. I need to defend the people that are attacked by Zionist scum. And it's just going to be part of this stream forever. I mean, how many times have I said it? I mean, it's a lot. So if that doesn't sink in, then I mean, I guess you're just gone now. All the money you gave me, all the time you invested, it's just down the fucking drain for good. Because, and I hate you. That's the other thing. Like, I now personally hate you. You did it. You got noticed by me. That's all. Damn. Again, I don't like that. That's not good. That's not good. All the conversations we've had, all the times I liked your chats. Damn, you said something so fucking stupid that you're banned now. Anyone else want to say it? Since we're banning longtime chatters, anybody else want to burn the bridge by saying we should not help Kaceytron, Frogan, Denims? Are you bored to tears by that? Anybody else want to say that? You did him a favor. He was not learning the good lessons here, so maybe we could go touch grass. Nah, he's not going to touch grass. No, he's not. I honest to God might turn off the ability for banned viewers to see my stream for that guy. That's how much I dislike what he said. That's how much I found it offensive. You should support small content creators facing financial harassment from wealthy Zionists. You would think that's an easy thing to say. Apparently in DC, we could move on now. Apparently in DC, I just wanted to have that quick aside. Ethan is destroying the lives of good people. In your case, a good friend of yours, and these dipshit thinks it's just drama. I mean, obviously, right? Like Kaceytron has been a Mike from PA head for, I don't know. No, I don't mean to. She's a subscriber of mine for 48 months, and she has been following and watching me for 5 years. And you think that I'm going to allow her to be harassed by Ethan Klein? Incredible. And she pays for her own subscription too. It's not a gifter. The park I run at each morning has soccer fields that the Hispanic community plays soccer at night. Last night, I guess ICE raided them while playing. I don't know about it until this morning when I saw closed shoes, soccer balls laying there, unpicked up trash, and parked cars, even though I was the only one there. A worker eventually came to clean up, and they told me what happened. I wish I could send photos, but it was like the rapture happened. Yeah, it's pretty fucking horrible.
I don't want to get specific here, but there was no radio. There were two individuals clinging to flotsam. That's what there was. There wasn't weaponry of any kind. There wasn't a radio. There was no means for them to communicate other than the fact that the fire and the smoke was fairly well visible for a long distance around, but there was no radio.
The top Democrat on the House Intel Committee, Congressman Jim Himes, speaking last night on MS Now, providing more insight on what he saw yesterday during a briefing with the admiral who ordered that second deadly strike on survivors of the boat attack back in September. Very different than what the Trump administration and top Republicans are saying about that strike. We'll bring you much more from that briefing in just a moment. Also ahead, we're going to go through the failed attempt by the Justice Department to re-indict New York Attorney General Letitia James a second time. Plus, President Trump made a lot of claims about the state of the economy earlier this week during his cabinet meeting. Morning Joe economist Steve Ratner will be here with his fact-checking charts to take a look on affordability, where it's at. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It's Friday, everybody. December 5th. Are we happy it's Friday?
We are happy it's
Lemire, you going to get some sleep this weekend?
Always try.
You need some. With us, we have the co-host of our 9 a.m. hour, staff writer at The Atlantic, Jonathan Lemire. President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haass, is with us. Senior national security reporter for MS Now, David Rode. Columnist and associate editor at The Washington Post, David Ignatius. And managing editor at The Bulwark, Sam Stein, is with us this morning. So let's get right to our top story, where lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have been raising questions about the Trump administration's deadly boat strike campaign, and yesterday they finally got some answers. During a briefing with top military officials, a group of congressional leaders viewed unedited footage of that highly scrutinized September 2nd attack for the first time. It's the so-called double tap strike that killed shipwrecked survivors who were still seen clinging to broken wreckage, alleged drug boat wreckage after the initial impact. Multiple members described watching the survivors holding onto the capsized vessel as they were attacked again.
Now, it's one thing in World War II for, shells or bullets that, to be fired because they don't have complete information about the results of the previous attack. It's one thing for that to happen and hit a capsized boat and do that kind of damage. When you have complete air superiority, you have a drone buzzing overhead. This is not a military vessel. It's a civilian vessel. The people are completely out of the fight. If you really are trying to destroy the cartel, aren't you going to arrest these guys? And you don't have to ban that guy. All right, hold on. I mean, I guess they created their account. Was he saying base to make fun of? Was he saying it to make fun of Asmongold? I can't tell. Oh no. Oh no. Imagine coming on Twitch, being a Maya follower, and then ending up following a rapist. That's crazy. It's so funny to be a fan of a lot of these streamers when those people would absolutely hate your guts. It's like, how are you a fan of Maya, Wake Wilder, and Seer, and a right winger? They fucking hate you, man. Like, you're watching people that would hate your guts. Like, why are you there? Why are you here?
The top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Adam Smith of Washington, tells MS Now the justification given for that follow-up strike was that...
Something I noticed is if I mention in Kaceytron's name in support, 1 million people come out and attack. I'm not aware of any lore. I just know Casey is cool and needs help. Other than I'm not online. Can you explain why so many Nazis come out? Because Asmongold is a Nazi. And there is also a bot network on Reddit and Twitter that's being paid for by some of these same people to bot their shit. Basically, websites that are bottable are getting botted by right wingers right now. And websites that aren't, or it's harder to bot, like Twitch, notice how you don't really hear them much. It's like one message. Notice how it's like one guy. I'll be the top just chatting streamer on the entire website. It'll be like one guy. You know what I'm saying? It's because there's really not that many of them, but they do bot like fucking crazy. And that's why you don't see like Asmongold fan cams. That's why you don't see like Asmongold reposts on TikTok, right? Like I have more activity posting my shit than Asmongold has on TikTok. Literally. That's actually embarrassing how there is no, and like you never see a Tech Toad clip on TikTok because the guy, because it's hard to bot. That's also why the government hates it, because it's harder to control. That's why they had to buy it and fuck with the algorithm in the deep levels, because it's hard to control.
Drugs could still be under the piece of boat the survivors were clinging to in the water, leaving officials concerned the men could.
Are you going to partner with Kalshi? I want to bet on this stream. Oh, hell yeah, brother. Once they give me that $1 million check, I'm taking that Kalshi sub. I'm taking that. When they say Mike from PA, here's $1 million for Kalshi integration, I'll be like, hell yeah, brother. Let's gamba. Mike was right. Let's go. I'm going to have my ground news subscription, my Surfshark VPN, and my Kalshi. I'm going to be a multi-millionaire, baby. Woo! When Twitch swept the bots for a day, didn't Asmongold have the same number of viewers as Hassan? Actually, he had 10,000 fewer than Hassan. That's actually a really good question, but it's actually much, much worse. When they swept the bots, which they didn't even get all of them, I think the best way is to look at recent streams. 25. You guys remember what day the bots got swept? Oh, I did not Asmongold 24/7. That's not the one. It's Zach Rar. Sorry, chat. I was like, what is Asmongold 24/7? Yeah, here we go. I think it was when was the bot removal? When did it happen? Do you guys remember? He streamed every day, but then he took some time off. So he's like 50k, 50k. Oh, wait. 51. Here it is. 51 max. And then he did like a 0.1 hour stream to test the waters. Got to 28,000 viewers in 1 minute. Was that it? No, that wasn't the bot removal day. There was a couple days where the bots got removed. Do you guys remember when it was? I think it was in August. Twitch viewership makes a massive hit after cracking down on bots. August 28th. Oh, wow. There it is. Okay. 94,000, 51,000, 36. 36. 31. And then the bots started coming back. So he went from one day he's at 94,000, and the very next day, you know, and there were no events. 5-hour stream, he maxed at 51k. He gained 466 followers and the follower count. And then the bots come back. Now, listen, maybe he just spontaneously had a low viewership day on the same day that bots were banned, but hey, who knows? Maybe it was just a lower viewership day. Lacey, Ureg, Neon, Miskiff, Tecton, and multiple others already back at their normal view counts. Bots already found a bypass, and streamers will see I'm not botting after they've been testing them behind the scenes until they knew 100% will be working ahead of their planned streams and events. Oh yeah, of course. The problem that Twitch has is like, it's a fake it till you make it website where people bot like crazy. Did anyone see a Trump supporter planted pipe bombs in DC? Of course they did. These are account creation dates. So this is the dates that accounts were created. And notice how there's these weird spikes where certain days have a ton more account creation days than others. And then you look at Hassan's. This is Hassan account creation days. Account creation days. Miskiff account creation days. Queso account creation days. There's something to think about, you know, something to think about. The thing about botting is, it's my opinion. I can't prove it because I don't have Twitch's tools, but it's just my opinion is that data seems to be artificial. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Okay, where were we? We're talking about the boat attacks.
Continue the mission. Lawmakers.
Also, chat, I unbanned that chatter. I wanted to put the fear of God into that chatter. You see how easy it is for me to ban you for being a dumb fuck piece of shit? Try not to be a dumb fuck piece of shit. Soft. I am kind of nice. Deep down, I'm kind of nice. I have a hard exterior and I am a gentle person on the inside. I'm not a piece of shit on the inside who puts out a fake persona, right? Like, I'm actually nice and kind. That being said, I am hardened from the outside, right? It's the shitty people in the world that made me meaner on the outside, but on the inside, I'm soft. Might not be able to prove your theory, but it's an extremely solid theory that seems to fit the data better than other theories. Yeah, Yeah. 2 trade cancellations. Craziest raid I've ever experienced. No idea how we made it on the flight at the very last second. Ireland was amazing. Can't wait to return. Well, there you have it, chat. No Hassan. No Hassan. No Hassan today. Hassan refugees in. Also, craziest rain I've ever experienced. Bitch, you from LA. You don't experience rain. I legitimately do think that LA makes people soft. I do think it makes people soft. It was I was walking around yesterday with Vio and it's 65. It was 65 degrees and Vio was like over the top shivering. I had a t-shirt on and I was like, come on, you can't be serious right now. You can't be serious right now. You're from Austria. Like, come on. Vienna is cold right now. Vienna is like a slightly milder Pennsylvania as far as their weather. It doesn't get quite as hot in the summer and it doesn't get quite as cold. You see how they're like in the 40s and they're not really going below freezing? That's actually, you need to wear a jacket for 39, right? But it's not like cold. That's chilly. In SoCal, we have a threshold of 5 degrees. Anything below 68 is cold. Anything above 72 is hot. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I'm listening to? Unironically, LA makes you soft. So when Hassan says craziest rain, his jacket isn't even soaked through. His jacket is not even soaked through. Huffing up. His beanie, that doesn't look like a waterproof beanie. It's not soaked. It's 26 now in PA. Wait, what's the weather in Philly right now? See what I mean? Actual winter with possible flurries later. In case you want to know, and if you're one of these freaks that like has Celsius, this is actually kind of a warm December. And Philadelphia, by the way, is a little bit warmer than the rest of PA because it gets like more of the because of the river and Philadelphia Harbor, it gets a little bit warmer there. It's a little bit milder. Hassan describing the rain. All right, where were we? Oh yeah, we were talking about America doing horrible war crimes on civilian vessels. Isn't that great? It was bound to happen. If you continue stretching the polar vortex, eventually we'll let loose obscenely cold air. By next weekend into the following week, the bottom drops out completely with the coldest early December temperatures since 1876 in Chicago. Oh my God. No way. Negative 43? At that level of temperature, negative Celsius starts to become colder because you've I think it's what 40 when they cross over, right? Yeah, negative 40 Fahrenheit is negative 40 Celsius. Holy shit. And that's rare. I have only been in weather like that a few times. Oh, that's the temperature anomaly? Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah, it says 2 meter temperature anomaly. So what's the average Chicago weather? Average Chicago weather wiki. Climate. That's what I'm looking for. So December, the mean daily minimum is 25 degrees. Oh, so it'll be like negative 20. The record low in December was negative 20. So it's going to be some of the coldest weather. Woo! Gonna be chilly. I keep hearing from farmers I live around it's going to be one of the coldest winters we have seen in Canada. Farmers know. Did you guys hear the Farmer's Almanac is going away? This is the last year. Yeah, the 2026 edition is the last one. Dear friends, it was with great appreciation and heartfelt emotions we write to share some sad news. After more than 200 years of sharing a unique blend of weather, wit, and wisdom, we've made a very difficult decision to write the final chapter of the historical publication. The 2026 Farmer's Almanac will be our last edition. That's very sad. Imagine being a billionaire and just not ever making things. Many of you grew up hearing your parents or grandparents quote from the almanac, always having a copy nearby. Maybe you've planted by our moon phases, consulted the almanac for the best days to potty train, wean, or go fishing. We're grateful to have been part of your life and trust that you'll help keep the spirit of the almanac alive. Yeah, I mean, it's very sad. Again, capitalism destroys everything that is cool. Guy here at Kara 12 News this morning in Minnesota was telling us he's never seen this much snow in the month of December. Yeah.
Overall, emerged.
Something happened to Hassan. Hassan is on a plane and he's going to be late. It's an 11-hour flight from Dublin to LA. So he left at 7. So do the math. No stream today. Did you hear about the Netflix Warner Bros. Acquisition? Wait, Netflix won? Oh my God, thank God. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ, thank God. Holy shit, it would have been so terrible if Ellison won. Jesus Christ. Okay, the reason why I'm saying thank God is because horrible Zionists were trying to buy Warner Brothers. And Netflix is an, evil corporation, but at least they're not fucking explicit Zionists whose goal is to make Zionism. Netflix announced Friday it reached a deal to buy pieces of Warner Brothers Discovery, bringing a swift end to a dramatic bidding process that saw Paramount, Skydance, and Comcast vying for the legacy assets. The deal is for Warner Brothers Film Studio, streaming service, HBO Max, Warner Brothers Discovery will still spin out its TV networks, which includes TNT and CNN as previously planned.
Agreeing to acquire Warner Brothers following the separation of Discovery Global. Cash and stock transaction has an equity value of $72 billion. This is what Ted Sarandos had to say about it on the conference call.
We can't stand still. We need to keep innovating and investing in stories that matter most to audiences. And that's what this deal is all about. The combination of Netflix and Warner Brothers creates a better Netflix for the long term. It sets us up for success for decades to come. Warner Brothers has some of the best entertainment in the world, period.
Favor's been helping the street understand the story all morning long, and he joins us on the phone with more details. David, as Netflix is poised to become one of maybe the biggest content creator in the world.
Yeah, no doubt it's going to be even more of a powerhouse if they get this deal done than they currently are, Carl. Stepping back, obviously, just stunning when you consider the deal itself and the price being paid at this point for a company whose stock price prior to the news of Paramount's interest was, in the low teens, not even, to be fair. So an enormous premium being paid, and frankly, quite a multiple as well that Netflix is willing to pay. It's up into the upper 20s, maybe as much as 30 times EBITDA. You really have to be stunned just at the overall size and scope of the transaction itself. As you said, of course, it's worth $72 billion in equity, $27.70.
What he's saying here, chat, is that Netflix is paying 30 times the yearly profit of Warner Brothers to buy Warner Brothers. It's so stupid. My God, it's so dumb. When I was taking business class and economics classes, people would say, "Oh, a good acquisition price is 10 times earnings." 10 times. They're paying 30 times? 30 times? Now, obviously 10 is like very low. 30? 30? That's insane. So basically, Warner Brothers shareholders are being given money equivalent to 30 times the profit all at once. Like, they overpaid so much. God, I hate capitalism. It's so fucking stupid. Jesus Christ, they're idiots. And how are they affording it? Guess what? They're borrowing the money from banks.
5 is the total.
I mean, that may not be true. I need to find out what the actual details are before I say that. Maybe they're issuing shares. Who knows? What are we doing?
Total. Most of that, as I reported yesterday, 85% of it is in cash. The rest in stock that is collared. Let's keep an eye on.
It's cash? Netflix has that much cash?
Netflix shares, because they are already edging very close, if not beyond the bottom of that collar, which means you will start to see some.
Hey, according to Netflix, they had $9.32 billion in cash. So something's not right there.
Value go away, remember, based on that ratio. Not that much, given it's only 15% of the overall consideration to begin with. But when it comes to value, guys, I've got to come back to Paramount. And obviously, as you both know, I've been covering this so closely these last few weeks. Paramount's final bid, received last evening, was $30 a share, all cash. I think Andrew reported this as well a little while ago, and I can confirm. $30 a share, all cash, for a deal that was for the entire company, as we pointed out so many times. In the case of Netflix, that $27.75 is for the studio and streaming business. Global Networks will be its own entity that will trade separately and may have a value, let's call it, of $3 a share. So you take $27.75, let's give it $3, and there's a lot of debate about what Global Networks will be worth. You get to $30.75 versus $30 a share, all cash for the entire company from Paramount, for a deal where the antitrust risk is generally believed to have been lower. And I can add to that some new reporting, which is that after roughly 10 months, if they did not receive antitrust approval, It's my understanding from sources that Paramount would have started to pay part of the $5 billion reverse break fee to Netflix shareholders. So there's a great amount of frustration, as you might imagine, on the Paramount side at the end of this auction, given that they started the whole thing off, they bid 5 times, and they came up the loser. And obviously on the Netflix side, as we've said many times, wow, they clearly wanted the asset. They clearly were willing to go to the mat to get it. And the question, of course, becomes, what does it say about the overall company's business, its outlook, what will happen to its multiple?
I'm really worried about this because the one thing that we didn't need is less companies making content. And like bigger companies means less production of actual videos and movies and shows and less jobs. This is basically buying up all of Warner Brothers' old IP. Like, this sucks.
Will it begin to erode in part? And it's even going to be levered. Now it'll delever quickly, but it'll be levered at over 4 times given all the debt they're taking on to pay the huge cash portion of this consideration. So many things we'll be talking about, by the way, for weeks to come, Carl and Sarah.
I feel like the other thing we'll be talking about, David, is what the regulatory pushback will be from this, right? I mean, there are options here. Next hour, I think we're talking to the CEO of Cinema United. That's the Theater Owners Association. Will they, file an antitrust complaint? Will there be pressure in Europe, right, with the regulators? Will Paramount sue the board? We brought up this Revlon case, right? Whether they didn't do their fiduciary responsibility of getting the best and highest offer. I feel like those are all going to be questions, and there are bigger questions now that they went with Netflix, right, on this antitrust story.
Without a doubt. I mean, Sarah, you sit next to me. How many times did I talk about antitrust and putting together number 1 and number 4 in streaming? Now, I remember from my interview with John Malone a few weeks back, remember, if you define the market as including TikTok and Instagram, then you get to a very different outcome as if you define it about streaming itself. But you're right. There's going to be an enormous pushback here. I think there's little doubt about it. I know Sarandos talked about their confidence in the regulatory aspects of this on the conference call. And the deal could take, I don't know. Again, this is guessing. 18 months. Could it be as much as 2 years? Will they face a court fight? Where does the Trump administration really stand in terms of opposition or support here? All important questions. And again, why I do come back to the Paramount offer in part in saying, well, it is interesting. They were frustrated. They wrote that letter yesterday in terms of calling out the process itself. But there's a merger agreement here. And by the way, there's a $2.8 billion breakup fee. And I want to make it clear here. The breakup fee goes from a company being acquired. So in this case, Warner Brothers would have to pay Netflix $2.8 billion to get out of the transaction now. That's an additional cost if Paramount were trying to come over the top. But there's also a shareholder vote. And, is there any chance they will try very hard to see if they can really mount opposition amongst the shareholder base to see if they can defeat this? I don't know. But those are key questions, Sarah, in addition, obviously, to the real main one you raised, which is antitrust and what that's going to look like over the next year and more.
And I wonder if you have any reporting or color into the question of whether Paramount got a fair shake here. That seems to be what they're implying, with their lawyers sending that letter. Like, did they get as much consideration, or is there just beef between David Zaslav and David Ellison? Is he pissed that they took South Park? That's out there.
Yeah, I don't know that there's beef between them, and I think there has been a sense, I believe, on the Paramount side somehow that they were in an uphill battle, certainly since Netflix arrived. And since, as I reported weeks ago, they arrived very seriously in terms of the work they were doing and the bid they seemed to be mounting. That's going to be a question, in terms of, was the entire board involved here? Did everybody know everything to weigh in? And again, you can make a decision as well as a shareholder. Let's say if they're right and they could get a deal done in 10 months as opposed to what Netflix is going to face, and you get $30 of cash for the entire company. It was a cleaner deal. It's why I kept saying that I thought that Paramount perhaps was in the pole position, so to speak. But we'll have to wait and see. Netflix is a powerful company that is incredibly thoughtful, and one would expect that they have also thought deeply about the antitrust fight ahead for them and have to be confident that they can win it.
So, David, we have this
So basically what they're discussing right now, chat, is that Paramount wanted to give all cash for Warner Brothers, whereas Netflix did part cash and part Netflix stock. Now, the Netflix stock plus the cash was a bigger number than the all cash. So the bid is higher from a nominal point of view, but you know, Paramount is like, no, we want to buy this. We want to buy it all. And they're mad that they weren't able to do so.
Interesting situation where the bidder that prevailed at this point, Netflix, is seeing its stock hit further. It's already been pretty weak as investors were concerned about the risk being taken strategically and financially on this deal, kind of the change of the overall bull thesis on Netflix. And Paramount shares have been down as it's the losing bidder because people feel as if now it's kind of subscale and it's out in the cold, I presume.
I agree with you completely, Mike, and I'd come back to you as obviously somebody who follows these things so closely. I mean, I've been asking this question about multiple erosion at Netflix. What does it really say about their view of the business that they're willing to be so aggressive here? I don't know the answer. I don't know what its shareholders will conclude, but I think it is a key question because, as we've said many times, and as you well know, Netflix's multiple has been the envy of the media business. Do you threaten that multiple in some way by doing this transaction? Also putting yourself sort of in under regulatory scrutiny for at least a year, if not more. You know, all key questions at this point. I would add one more thing, which is just David Zaslav, obviously, who has overseen, you know, a rebirth to a certain extent. Certainly he would argue of the studio, which is number one.
The other thing to keep in mind is Netflix only bought the entertainment and movie portions of Warner Brothers. Paramount can and likely will still buy CNN and continue a media takeover. I mean, that is a possibility, but you have to understand that that also may not happen. And the reason why that may not happen is because this is going to take a while, right? So for this deal to happen, it's going to take, you know, a period of time. And so maybe Netflix is allowed to buy this Warner Brothers stuff, and then they spin off these new companies, and then Ellison tries to buy them, but then guess what? AOC is president, and you have a bunch of neo-Brandeisian people breaking up companies. You understand that all these companies can be broken up, right? Like if we get a left-winger in power, they could destroy all these companies and make them all small companies. You guys are probably a bit too young to remember this, but the government could just take a company and make it into 5 companies and make them all small. So by delaying the acquisition period, by slowing it down, that prevents the Zionists from being able to gain control of everything quick enough to affect the next presidential election, to affect the next midterm election. This is good because it's slowing it down and preventing the Zionist takeover of all media. So we have, you know, people call them neo-Brandeisians or whatever, because it's from Brandeis, who's a judge who supported a lot of the breakup of trusts, as they used to be called. Typically associated with like, you know, more progressive as opposed to socialist, but Lena Khan being an example. Wouldn't that require the courts to enforce a breakup? Well, that's exactly the point. We're entering a new progressive era. And in the progressive era, we could use the powers that already exist.
And TV production, which has helped a lot, and which
is this a Theodore
the
Roosevelt
library
type
that
antitrust?
Netflix will be getting, and the studio, which obviously they're going to maintain. By the way, their plan is also to maintain the HBO brand in and of itself. But he is going to be running this company, obviously, during this period of time while they go through the regulatory process. And then he's going to go off. So, you know, there had been arguments on the Paramount side. Well, really, he wants to be a part of Netflix in some way. That is not the case. Zaslav will be a very wealthy man, and it's my understanding that once the deal closes, if it closes, he will go on to pursue other things.
Yep, a lot of discussion, especially to Sarah's point about the Davids, the David Zaslav that you're mentioning, and of course Ellison too.
All right, another bombshell Supreme Court case, chat. The Supreme Court has overturned the lower court and said that Texas can use their gerrymandered map. In an unsigned 6-3 opinion, Supreme Court says that gerrymandering is not racist. The Supreme Court cleared the way on Thursday for Texas lawmakers to use newly redrawn congressional maps favoring Republicans in the 2026 midterm elections. The decision overturns, at least for now, a lower court ruling that the new maps were likely an unconstitutional racial gerrymander That decision had blocked lawmakers from using the maps in the midterms. The Supreme Court's order came days before a December 8th deadline for candidates to file to run for office in Texas. It marks a victory for Texas Republicans and for President Trump, who has pushed Republican-led states to revise their congressional maps to try to secure GOP victories in the midterms. The ruling also adds to the growing list of successes for Trump administration. And this is something that I've wanted to say for a long, and I have been saying for a long time. U.S. Supreme Court allows Texas gerrymandering. This is something that I've told you for a long time, that the Supreme Court is not going. And in fact, I told you this when the map was blocked, I believe, that the 6 justices on the U.S. Supreme Court are partisan hacks, and they do whatever is good for the Republican Party. And that precedent, legal reasoning, it's all out the fucking window. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter at all. The ruling also adds to the growing list of successes for the Trump administration before the justices, particularly on their emergency docket of cases heard without oral arguments where the court's orders are intended to be merely interim. Critics refer to it as a shadow docket and note that temporary decisions could have broad consequences. In a 5-paragraph order, the majority wrote that Texas was likely to succeed on the merits of its claim that a lower court had wrongly blocked the new maps. The trial court, the majority wrote, had improperly inserted itself into an active primary campaign, causing much confusion and upsetting the delicate federal-state balance in elections. The court's order did not include a vote count, which is typical for rulings on such emergency applications. Justice Samuel Alito wrote a concurrence, adding that he joined the majority's decision to allow the Texas maps. 2 other conservatives, Justices Thomas and Gorsuch, joined him. In a 17-page dissent, Elijah Kagan, joined by the court's 2 other liberals, argued that the majority had wrongly overturned a careful 160-page lower court ruling based on its perusal over a holiday weekend of a cold paper record. We are a higher court than the district court, but we are not a better one when it comes to making such a fact-based decision, she wrote. Justice Kagan wrote that the Supreme Court's order disserves the millions of Texans who the district court found were assigned to their new districts based on their race, adding that because this court's precedents and our Constitution demand better, I respectfully dissent. The ruling outlines, and by the way, chat, I have said this for a long time, that liberals made the idea of respectfully dissenting a meme. People bought Ruth Bader Ginsburg action figures where she would say, I dissent. And one of the things about my stream is that is fucking loser shit. You know what happens when you win a case? The court says it is so ordered. Liberals made a celebration of defeat. There's a book called I Dissent. Ruth Bader Ginsburg makes her mark. You can still buy it at the Swarthmore store. Notorious RGB, I Dissent. This is making defeat and losing into something to be celebrated. The ruling outlines the state of play while litigation over the map continues through the lower courts, including potentially returning to the Supreme Court for further consideration. But given the deadline, the order means the map will be used. In recent months, Trump has pushed Republican-led states to swiftly redraw their congressional maps ahead of the 2026 elections to try to fend off the possibility of Democrats winning control of the House. If Democrats gain the House majority, they could investigate Trump's administration and stymie his agenda. Attorney General Ken Paxton of Texas cheered the decision, writing in a statement that the state was paving the way as we take our country back, district by district, state by state. Derek Johnson, the president of the NAACP, one of the groups that sued to challenge the Texas map, said in a statement that the move to redrop the maps mid-decade is clearly racially motivated, and Trump is working with his supporters to rig the system and steal votes from black and brown Americans. Ken Martin, chairman of the DNC, said the decision was wrong both morally and legally. The mid-cycle redistricting push outside the political norm. Guys, he's violating a norm! He's violating a norm! Oh my God, Trump's violating a norm! He's violated a norm again! Oh my God, I guess he's fucked, guys! He violated a norm! The Democratic Party spent the entire time while Joe Biden had a trifecta saying we can't overturn the filibuster. That's a norm. We can't overturn the parliamentarian. That would violate a norm. Now they're gerrymandering the districts by race in the middle of the decade so they could steal more elections. It is the center of Mr. Trump's midterm strategy. It set up a similar redistricting efforts in Democratic led states like California. That's the only one. Where's the other states? Where's Virginia? Where's New Jersey? Where is what else is where's Colorado? Texas officials helped set off the national redistricting fight. In August, Governor Greg Abbott signed a law that redrew maps for the state's 38 congressional districts, creating 5 new seats that favored Republicans. Civil rights groups sued to challenge the map, asserting that lawmakers had engaged in racial gerrymandering, preventing minority voters from being able to select their candidates of choice. A divided panel of 3 federal judges ruled in 2-1. And written by Judge Jeffrey V. Brown, a district judge for the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Texas, and a Trump appointee. The panel issued a preliminary finding that sided with the civil rights. The Supreme Court has said that lawmakers may draw maps for partisan advantage provided they do not discriminate on the basis of race. He asserted that George Soros, the wealthy philanthropist known for championing left-leaning causes, was involved in challenging the maps. In a brief to the court, Mr. Paxson argued that politics, not race, had motivated the change. This summer, the Texas legislature did what legislatures do, politics. And there you have it, chat. There you fucking have it. They violate norms, they cheat, they steal, they rig elections, and you got it, chat. You got your article. In paragraph 11 or 12, they said they violated a norm in the New York Times. Congratulations, Democrats. By doing nothing, you have allowed the Republicans to take power. But hey, at least in the New York Times on paragraph 12, it said they violated a norm.
The meeting split along party lines. Republicans largely said they were content with the explanation provided by Admiral Frank M. Bradley, the commander who oversaw the attack, while Democrats said they had only grown more concerned. Members from both parties did say that Admiral Bradley told them he had not received an order to kill everybody, but then their accounts differed starkly from there.
I saw 2 survivors trying to flip a boat loaded with drugs down for the United States, back over, so they could stay in the fight. And potentially, given all the context we heard...
What fight? There was no fight. There was no shots exchanged. There was no attack being made. They were a boat. A short-range, local, shallow water boat. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Fight? What fight? There is no fight.
Of other narco-terrorist boats in the area coming to their aid to recover their cargo and recover those narco-terrorists. And just like you would blow up a boat off of the Somali coast or the Yemeni coast, and you'd come back and strike it again if it still had terrorists and it still had explosives or missiles, Admiral Bradley and Secretary Hegseth did exactly what we would expect them to do.
What I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have 2 individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who were killed by the United States. Under the DoD manual for abiding by the laws of armed conflict, the specific example given of an impermissible action is attacking a shipwreck. Any American who sees the video that I saw will see the United States military attacking shipwrecked sailors. People will someday see this video and they will see that that video shows, if you don't have the broader context, an attack on shipwrecked sailors.
All right, I want to turn to David Rode here. I mean, if we look at the initial strike, we do have the video of that, right? And we've all seen it, right? Here it is. So we're talking about potential war crimes here. And I'm not trying to be silly, but I have to ask you, where exactly was this? How far away from land was this? What was the possibility that these 2 survivors could paddle away and continue their drug operation? I mean, are we kidding me? Is this guy serious, talking about the potential that these 2 survivors could continue the operation? I mean, we're not stupid, but I have to ask. Could they have paddled to shore with the rest of the drugs?
No, and essentially this is what we heard from the Democrats who viewed this. The boat had
been... The Republicans can't see this?
This is our partisan divide. The boat had been blown in half at least. The front half is still floating, so there is no motor They are very far from it. This was carried out far from land just for the way they do these kind of overt operations.
What are the chances they were Olympians and they could swim to shore with the drugs on their backs?
Very few that I know of. No, I know. And then the second thing was that before this briefing, there was repeated statements that they had radios and that they were radioing maybe nearby boats and that they were going to come help them. And again, all some focus on the amount of drugs somehow possibly trapped underneath that floating, flipped over, hull. And so in the briefing, they didn't have radios. They had no communications, and there were no other boats in the area. So they were, every sign points to they were trying to save their own lives, not rejoin. And it's not the fight. Rejoin their criminal effort to make money and smuggle drugs to the United States. That's terrible. That's criminal. But they aren't. This is the broader issue of they're not fighting. They're not combatants.
Right,
they're not shooting at America.
Wow, this guy is saying the point that is the more important point. They're not even fucking soldiers. They're not terrorists. Yes, trying to make money from selling drugs is a crime. Okay? And we don't want people to smuggle in heroin into our country. Whatever. And if they get caught and they go to prison, that's what the law says. But to kill people on the open ocean, that's fucking murder. And are you completely 100% sure this boat has drugs? There's no chance that it doesn't? You're 100,000% sure there's no chance at all you made a mistake? There's no chance at all that they don't have any drugs on the boat? You're beyond a shadow of a doubt, completely convinced with 0% risk of mistake? There's no way you could ever say that's true. They committed, this is murder, period. Murder.
American soldiers.
Richard, I saw you shaking your head. I mean, is this really an argument, a partisan divide, or is there a potential here that some are being less than truthful about the possibilities here?
Well, there's two things. The idea that this entire operation is being conducted by the military is from the outset flawed. Mm-hmm. That's why you have this thing called the Coast Guard. You approach ships, if they resist, Coast Guard has the ability to deal with fire, to return force. And then you rescue survivors. This ought to be a law enforcement. So the entire packaging, structure, policy in which this is embedded is inherently flawed. Where the politics are coming at me is the idea that people won't even entertain that. So you have essentially Republicans on the Hill stretching themselves and looking for,
By the way, if you're just saying murder is good because I don't like the people, because they're going to do harm, you have now created a moral and legal justification for killing a lot more people. A lot of people. If I were to take that justification, lots of Americans are going to die because drug smuggling exists. Therefore, I could kill anybody doing drug smuggling. That's a logic of social murder. Basically, anybody who participates in activities that leads to the deaths of other people, even unintentionally, is a murderer and therefore can be murdered in cold blood. Do you not understand that logic applies to CEOs and senators as well? Do you understand that logic applies to you? If you're saying, hey, if I can kill the person and get away with it, it's fine. You have now created a justification for Luigi Mangione. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? By the way, Luigi is accused, not convicted, and I think he may be innocent.
Arguments you just heard, shall we say, they don't pass serious scrutiny. The idea that these guys posed an imminent threat to U.S. forces, they were going to reconstitute a military threat, that's an unserious argument. Again, it's the reason this ought to be a Coast Guard operation up close rather than a U.S. military operation. Well, by the way, we're shooting and killing before we've confirmed that they are, in fact, in the business we say they are in.
And again, let's repeat. This boat is flipped over. It's on fire. There's no radio. You're miles from shore. There's no means for them to rejoin the fight. And as David points out, there was no fight to begin with. We should all, even as this attack comes under such scrutiny, the Secretary of Defense announced last night they did another one, which we will get to. Meanwhile, let's read a couple of important pieces here on this. The Wall Street Journal editorial board writes in a new one entitled Hegseth's Order and the Admiral, quote, it's notable that Mr. Hegseth has spent the past few days saying he wasn't in the room when the second strike happened, even as he declares his full and total support for Admiral Bradley. It smacks of an attempt to shift scrutiny to a military officer who can't defend his decisions in public. The message to other officers is that they'll be alone in a foxhole if some mission runs into trouble.
I gotta tell you, chat, like, if you were trying to destroy America, like, legitimately, if you were trying to destroy America, you would be doing this. Like, this kind of cynicism is the opposite of an effective military against a. This is a military that could only fight weak opposition. Because the moment, like, what, you're gonna stand toe to toe with China? You're gonna stand on a ship that's getting rained down with fucking hypersonic cruise missiles, and you're gonna fight Chinese soldiers in a drone fucking trenches with you're gonna stand toe to toe and you're gonna die. You're gonna sacrifice your life for Donald Trump and Hegseth? Really? Think about the hundreds of thousands of men, women that sacrificed their lives in bloody combat to defeat Hitler. You think people are gonna sacrifice themselves in bloody combat for Trump? For a patently self-interested grifter? Guys, gals, it's, and the moment anything happens and Donald Trump might get in trouble, he's going to throw you under the bus. This is a military of mercenaries. And if you've studied Italy, in Italy's history, do you know what mercenaries do when they're faced with existential threat? They fucking leave. And they say, I didn't sign up to die. I signed up to get money. I ain't gonna fight a battle we could lose. I'm out. I legitimately think that America is, when I read that China was putting out 7 times the engineers as the United States per year, that they can build 80 times the ships, like that, those numbers, like, there's never been a country that was a rising power that has the force, velocity, and momentum of China. Never in the history of humanity has a country been catching up to the rest of the world at such an unbelievable rate. Through most of human history, China was the most wealthy and technologically advanced and organized society. For most of human history, China was it. It was only a short period of time where Europe was ascendant and dominant. Time in Western countries. That time is rapidly coming to an end. And men like Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are making it happen faster. By what year do you think China will outpace the West by every metric? I mean, depending on what you look at, by now it's already there. The only places where the US outpaces China are places where there are some serious structural advantages that are very difficult to overcome. And those, for example, fleet carriers. Fleet carriers is where the US has more than China. And it's going to be it's very expensive to build a fleet carrier. Okay? Like, that is a lot of fucking money. And the US has a lot of fleet carriers. But China is approaching this by developing the next generation of weapons. They are not building these big ponderous fleet carriers like the US. They're building these light carriers that the US cannot compare to. And they're basically hybrid drone ships, like drone motherships and light carriers. So basically, instead of having a big heavy carrier with all your planes on it, you make 15 light carriers and you spread out the swarm. And so if a single light carrier gets sunk, it doesn't fuck you. Whereas if a single fleet carrier gets sunk or damaged, the entire fucking fleet is out of the fight. So China's trying a completely different strategy of have a bunch of light carriers. And the US doesn't have anything like this. And because China is advanced on the electromagnetic catapults, they could even have heavier aircraft launching from the light carriers that could challenge the aircraft being launched from the fleet carriers. Like, it's actually, it's an evolution of naval warfare. China's designing their navy to fight the next war. The United States is designing their navy based on principles that were derived post World War II. This report says that China leads in 57 of 64 critical technologies, now covering 64 critical technologies in crucial fields spanning defense, space, energy, the environment, AI, biotech, robotics, cyber computing, advanced materials, and key quantum technology. The Tech Tracker's dataset has been expanded and updated from 5 years of data to 21 years of data. These new results reveal a stunning shift in research leadership over the past 2 decades toward large economies in the Indo-Pacific, led by China's exceptional gains. The U.S. led in 60 of 64 technologies in the 5 years from 2003 to 2007. but in the most recent 5 years is leading in 7. China led in just 3 of 64 technologies in 2003 to 2007, but is now the lead country in 57 of 64 technologies in 2019 to 2023. China's new gains have occurred in quantum sensors, high performance computing, gravitational sensors, space launch, and advanced integrated circuit design and fabrication. The U.S. leads in quantum computing, vaccines and medical countermeasures, nuclear medicine and radiotherapy, small satellites, atomic clocks, genetic engineering, and natural language processing. And RFK Jr. is directly attacking 3 of these.
The buck for the strike and its consequences rests with Secretary Hegseth and President Trump. And standing by Admiral Bradley means producing a factual record for Congress and the public to inspect. One reason this episode has mushroomed is that the administration isn't explaining the aims of its war in the Caribbean. The administration will have to start explaining why it is asking men.
They want to steal the oil. It's not complicated. They're going to steal the oil.
Women like Admiral Bradley to open fire. And contributing editor for the National Review, conservative writer Andrew McCarthy, has a new piece questioning the administration's so-called self-defense argument. McCarthy writes in part this: the Trump Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel reasoned that because the strikes are executed by drones, which are guided from places remote from the area attacked, no U.S. military personnel are at risk of harm. So here's my question. If we're supposedly not in hostilities, despite all the missiles and all the dead people, on the rationale that our forces are not vulnerable to attack or counterattack, even when the boats and crews are still intact, how could it be self-defense to attack a boat that we've already substantially destroyed by missile fire in the course of killing most of its crew? And David Ignatius, I mean, that's an excellent question, a question that has surrounded this operation from the beginning, even before we knew about the fact that the September 2nd attack required this so-called double strike, and then we learned 2 more rockets were launched to sink the ship after everyone on board was dead. What are you hearing from your sources on the Hill, people in Washington you've talked to, the reaction of seeing this video? Because Congressman Himes there couldn't have been more blunt in describing it one of the most disturbing things he's ever seen in his years of public service.
So what I find concerning is that the reactions to the video yesterday seem to have broken down on party lines. One benefit of this investigation of tragic event on September 2nd, with this horrifying image of survivors trying to cling to a capsized hull, is that it brought a moment of accountability where there was a bipartisan investigation that Republican and Democratic chairmen of both key committees, House and Senate, were united in wanting to get the facts. And now, a couple days later, we have Congressman Jim Himes, the ranking member in the House Intelligence Committee, say it's one of the most troubling things he's ever said, and his counterpart, the Republican, Lankford, saying it was highly professional. Senator Tom Cotton, the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, saying it was righteous. So we're back to the same kind of partisan divide. I want to say partisan mess.
By the way, chat, I want you to understand something. This is why centrism cannot win. Because like the Civil War that happened in the United States of America over slavery, there were a lot of centrists then too. And they said, why are we fighting? Why can't we just say, yes, slavery is a particular institution and it's no good, but aren't we all just on the same team? Aren't we rich white capitalists at the end of the day? Do we really have to fight over this slavery thing? Why can't the free states be free, let the slave states be slave states, and just continue on making money? Why can't we do that? That was the position. And it wasn't the abolitionists that declared secession. It wasn't the people on the correct side of history that declared war on the slavers. The slavers declared war on the abolitionists. The slavers fought against the norms and the expectations. The slavers declared secession. The right-wingers, the evil people, started it. It was the scallywags that started it. It was the copperheads. It was the fire eaters. fucking abolitionists. The lefties didn't start the fucking war. They didn't declare secession. They didn't blow up Fort Sumter. And just like then, the conservative fascist alliance is the ones attacking norms. They're the ones committing the war crimes. They're the ones gerrymandering in the middle of the fucking decade. They're the ones suppressing votes. They're the ones kidnapping Americans and stripping citizenship. They're the ones on the attack. We're not on the attack, you stupid fuck. They are. It's not a partisan divide. They're attacking us. The question is, are you going to fight back or are you going to surrender? Moderation is over. Incremental change is not viable. Just like in the Civil War, gradual abolition has been taken off the table by the slavers. The only solution is slave country or totally free country. There is no more moderation. And anybody advancing the idea that we can go back to the way it used to be is on the side of the right wing. I don't want this to be the case. It is the case. The Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, said that racial gerrymandering is A-O motherfucking K. In other words, states are allowed to rig their elections. As long as state legislators rig the elections, it's A-OK, according to the Supreme Court. That means the democracy is over if they get their way. Those people have to be removed from office. The Supreme Court must be expanded. If you believe in democracy, if you believe in elections, the Supreme Court of the United States must be defeated. It must be disempowered. It must be expanded. Its power must be checked. That's the reality. You either choose radical reform to save democracy or you surrender to fascism. There is no moderation left. It's over. Choose your side. Now you could say, Mike, you're causing this partisan divide. No, I'm observing it. I've been involved in politics directly myself since 2014, and every step of the way, from the Tea Party all the way to the Trumpist fascism of today. That's the period of time I've been in politics. And every step of the way, the right wing has pushed further and further, and they've spat in the faces, and they've slapped away handshakes, and they've refused to compromise, and they refuse to work across the aisle. If you continue to chase them, then you have a humiliation fetish. And it just so happens, chat, that we have the majority. I want to give you an example. If you're one of these people that are like, well, Mike, I agree with you on the policies, but I don't know if the American people are with us, then you've been lied to. A majority of Americans now support Medicare for all, even if it ends private insurance and raises taxes. The tipping point is here because the ACA is failing to keep healthcare affordable. New polling shows a 50-point shift in just 6 years. This is the reality. People want radical change. We either are the party of radical change or we are irrelevant.
And that's really unfortunate because this issue raises what really is a classic in the literature about use of force. During World War II, you'd have German submarines sinking shipping, and the question was, what do you do about the survivors? Do you go rescue them? Do you go rescue them if you're at risk? And there's extensive discussion by lawyers, thoughtful people at the time about what morality requires you to do in wartime. That kind of debate is what we need to be having now, and instead it's beginning to be the usual sharp disagreement between Republicans and Democrats, almost reflexive. And if this moment is wasted for a real discussion, we'll all be the worse for it.
All right, chat. I have to cover this. Asmongold represents where the average fascist Republican right-winger on the internet is. And this is where their politics are. And I have to tell you something, chat. This is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's incredibly bad that this is the way the right wing in this country, especially young right-wingers, are going. This is bad. On the other hand, I want you to know something, chat. The vast majority of Americans are not racist. I know. People are going to hear me. Some people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but it's true. The vast majority of Americans, if you showed them something and you said this is racist, they would say that's bad. Even if they don't have a sophisticated intellectual understanding of what racism really is, They disapprove of racism. That's the reality. Now, there's, again, a lot of people get mad at this, and they want to say they want to live in a world where that's not the case. And from a certain academic perspective, you could say that Americans do not have a sophisticated understanding about race. That's correct. But as far as just, would they rather side with Nick Fuentes or Hasanabi Piker? The answer is they'd rather side with Hassan. 1/3 of the right wing they were people that would, like 30% of Republicans would side with Nick Fuentes. Okay. Nick Fuentes is a monster. And there are millions of fucking Nazis and racists in America that are explicitly, knowingly racist. But if this is the question, if we are really going to ask ourselves which it is, they're going to fucking lose.
Immigration crackdown has spread to 2 more major American cities. One of them is New Orleans, where federal sweeps included places like Home Depot and Lowe's, known to attract migrants trying to find day work, day labor. It comes as the president continues to criticize Somali Americans as well, living in Minneapolis. And
No. This isn't, we can't be doing this, okay? I'm sorry. We can't be saying he's criticizing Somali Americans. Criticizing Somali Americans would be like, oh, have you seen Somali Twitter? They get real crazy. That's a criticism of Somali Americans, right?
We covered this story yesterday. I want to get to the part where he talks about what Asmongold says.
You are in the real world. Read a fucking book.
Islamophobia. Get out of here.
We know that he...
What are you talking about? You can see piles of bodies in satellites in the Sudan. It is. It's a shithole. Like, what are we talking about?
He's so brilliant, dude. Sudan, Somalia, who cares? It's the same. Also, how the is that born out of the Sudanese? Like, yeah, they shouldn't have had gold that is endlessly exploitable so that the United Arab Emirates send unlimited weapons to the rapid support forces and fund a genocide there. So they can take ownership of all.
See, the problem is the Sudanese had gold. And don't they understand that their gold is really ours? Don't the Sudanese understand that their gold is really our gold?
The gold mines in the country, you know, hey, if you don't want to be destroyed and genocided,
why don't you, Vickers?
You know, have you thought about not having any gold mines or natural resources that are easy to exploit? Yeah, war zone equals shithole. This is while he's arguing that Islamophobia is a made-up word. All people that are getting genocided are actually directly responsible for their own demise. It's fantastic.
Do we really? Are we going to pretend like it's not?
Nation's a shithole.
Are we going to pretend like you aren't living in a shithole? Like, what are we doing here? Like glass houses, man. Like, who the fuck are you? What are we doing here? You live, your entire life is a shithole. You are a disgusting rat and you have infinite resources and you live in filth. You are inferior, according to your logic. How are you talking about anyone else? It beggars belief.
His first administration, we know that when he came down that escalator,
40-year-old guy. Yeah, Trump is so based, he said shithole.
He said he was going to stop Muslim immigration into this country. And
he said that he stopped Muslim immigration from 7 countries at the beginning of his first presidency that got denied, by the way. And there are more than 7 Muslim countries in the world.
I mean, Asmongold obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a complete fucking moron. He's a complete fucking moron. She's referring to Donald Trump's campaign, you dumb fuck. Now, later he got blocked by courts because there's the First Amendment, you dumb piece of shit. So you can't discriminate against people based on them having a religion. So he got blocked and he shifted to making it about countries as a way of doing his policy. But he called for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the U.S. Like, it's not hard. I disagree with Donald Trump's latest proposal. His habit of making offensive and outlandish statements will not bring Americans together. Marco Rubio, his new Secretary of State.
There's like 50 something. What are you even talking about?
So it is not surprising.
Donald Trump billed it as a Muslim ban, for the record. Now,
this is his friend talking about his house.
The sun actually shines. Oh yeah, I did see this. But the thing is, like, it's so much better, but it's still not clean. But that's actually huge. I mean, good for him. I mean, it's steps for sure. The sun actually
steps. He's taking steps to clean his room, guys. It's huge. He's cleaning his room. He's taking steps to clean his room. It's like washing one toe and being like, he's taking steps to taking a bath.
Was his own statement.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
And he's still continuing to do so. He's still saying that he's going to shut down immigration from all these other countries.
That he is going after black immigrants.
And by the way, so Asmongold will go from saying she's wrong, and then he'll get proven wrong. Like, so he spread misinformation to his audience. He lied to his audience, right? And then he'll turn around and go, based. Well, why don't you just say the first thing in the first place, you fucking coward, dude? Just say the thing in the first place, you cowardly bitch. Say it. Why are you doing this whole lying thing where you pretend like you know what you're talking about? Just say the shit. Say you hate Jews. Say you hate black people. You fucking coward. Just do it. What are you waiting on?
In this country, and it's certainly not surprising that he's choosing a black immigrant community that is also Muslim.
Of course, right? It's not because of the fraud. It's not because of the wealth.
If 40 Somali people if 40 Somali people living in one area are caught doing fraud, and you think 300,000 Somali people are also doing the same exact kind of fraud, who do you think is the stupid person here? There is a welfare fraud investigation that was conducted in Minnesota. Okay. That is what these guys are using as a reason to say every Somali is parasitic and must be deported. Good luck explaining to people how insanely racist this is. Okay.
This is how you know, right? Whenever you blame all Somalis for the activities of an individual, you are being racist. You would not blame Asmongold for all the activities that white men have committed. Isn't that what he says is his main problem? That he would never vote for anybody who would supposedly disadvantage him based on his race or gender. But then he turns around and he wants to tar every Somali and every black person and every immigrant and every Muslim with the actions of a few. So what he claims is the reason why he's a racist right-winger is the exact thing that he's doing to other people. Now, saying that a right-winger is a hypocrite and illogical and is I know it's a huge burn, but goddamn, he's dumb as fuck.
Good luck. You will never be able to convince these dumb that they are actually engaging in a stupid line of argumentation that is devoid of all reason, all logic. When you look at an entire population of people that you bracket off of, like, you know, coming from Somalia or being American citizens of Somali descent, and you think that, oh, well, there were 20, 30, 40 Somali people that were caught engaging in welfare fraud, that means all of these people are doing it. That means all of these people, all Somali people are actually parasitic. We're just a moron, first and foremost. You're racist, but you're also kind of stupid.
For levels, it's not because of anything.
Yeah, all white men are pedophilic church shooters, I guess now. That's what we're operating off of. How many white men get caught doing pedophilia? I guess all white men are pedophiles. Stupid. It's a stupid way to argue.
It's actually because you're black. See, this is what people like this do, is that they constantly go and they fixate on identity. The fact
that's what you're doing, dumbass. What do you mean? This argument is so fried, dude. Republican president or Republican politician says all Somalis are parasitic and garbage and must be deported. And then a Somali congressperson, Somali American congressperson, right, that is also in the crosshairs, comes out and says this is racist and it's silly. And then you turn around and go, oh, why do you care so much about identity? It's like the conversation didn't start with Ilhan Omar. It started with Donald Trump. He's doing identity politics. You just agree with him, so you don't actually read it as identity politics. Stop saying, is listening to Rage Baiter Asmongold worth it? He doesn't even know what he's saying. He's just being racist to get views. I'm sick and tired of dumb who just come in here and make this argument, okay? This is not an argument. You have to understand, there are a lot of out there who actually do think this is peak commentary. Every now and then it has to be addressed. You're and lying nipple baby hypocrite. Like I said, every day my haters get dumber and dumber. They can't even type. They can't even spell. They can only speak one language. They barely can even do that, by the way. They can't even do that. They can't even speak one language they're supposed to. Asmongold is so much more politically informed than you. Ethan is more moral than you will ever be. You're and lying nipple baby hypocrite. You're right, Chatter. He really is. Yeah, let's see what else he had to say about this brilliant political commentary that's coming from a place of being well informed.
Is that nobody would be saying this if these people were contributing members of society. Nobody would be saying, some people would be saying it, but I wouldn't be saying it.
The important thing to remember here, chat, is that Asmongold doesn't care what the evidence is, right? Like, Asmongold doesn't care because this evidence has been out for a long time that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than native-born Americans. Immigrants use less welfare. Immigrants are more likely to have a productive job in general. And the reason why that is because an immigrant is an incredibly beneficial thing for a society because I don't know if you know this, chat, but everybody is a parasite at some point in their life. When you're a baby, you're a parasite. You rely on the surplus of other people in order to survive. And then when you become old and you can no longer work, you rely on the surplus of society to support you. Now we could shift your consumption. We could defer consumption, right? We could save money and then have money saved that we spend in retirement, but that's deferring consumption now. Right? So we have to produce a surplus now in order to have savings. That's what money does. So every single person for decades of their life is going to be a parasite. That's every single person. Now, some people have other disabilities or are not able to produce as much as other people. And so those people need to be supported. But we live in a modern industrial society where we could pump out nearly infinite amounts of products and goods. We have truckloads of brand new merchandise that are brought to landfills every day. We are not choked by austerity. What we have is a distributional problem. So when Asmongold says, oh, these people were X, Y, and Z, well, they are, according to the evidence. So why doesn't he care about the evidence?
Really? So all Somalis are non-contributing members of society. Do you have any evidence for this beyond the fact that you just kind of think that way? Also, you're not a contributing member of society. What have you done? What have you done? You don't even leave your house. You just sit in your moldy ass, dusty ass house and talk about how all Somalis are non-contributing members of American society. It seems that's what you're doing. He invented the rat alarm clock. It's true. It was a wonderful invention.
The fact is that these people come to the country, they live off of our benefits, they are net negatives to the country, and we are subsidizing.
Explain why they are net negatives. Explain why they are net negatives. Please present one argument. Please, why are 300,000 American citizens of Somali descent net negative to the country? Please explain. Explain what you mean, okay? Please. They're taking advantage of welfare is not enough, okay? There are far more white people that are taking advantage of welfare than the Somali Americans, and the welfare is marginal regardless, and it should be given to all regardless, and it should be far more expansive than it currently is. But if you're talking about whether or not someone is a benefit to the country, you have to make an argument as to why they're not. Because every Somali migrant that comes to the United States of America and gets a citizenship, that goes to school here, that gets a job here, is a productive member of society. Are you saying that every single American citizen of Somali background is actually jobless? Is that what you're saying? Like, what is the argument? Why do you think they are a net negative? Yes, I think Asmongold is a net negative to American society. I do believe that 100%. I sincerely believe that.
Did you already cover Taylor Lorenz talk about Congress about to do the break the internet, like actually break the internet? Sorry, I've been locked out for several hours. Is my phone updated somewhere and I have terrible service? Oh, no, I haven't covered the Taylor video yet.
Asmongold and people in Asmongold's audience that hold Asmongold's worldview or defend Asmongold's positions are unironically a net negative to America. If I actually,
I mean, okay, listen, Asmongold, you could argue that Asmongold had positive value when he was playing dress up with his dolls in World of Warcraft, and he was being carried by his chatters and content, and he was playing, you know, he was promoting World of Warcraft or whatever the fuck, and he was providing entertainment for people. You could say that when he was the chief doll player, maybe he was producing some sort of value for people, you know, hedonically, you know, they felt entertained or whatever. But now he just goes out there and spreads hate and pushes for policies that are going to make America poorer, more fractured, and less effective and less livable. So without a doubt, Asmongold is a net negative on humanity. Like if Asmongold's stream just was deleted tomorrow, humanity would be advancing. There is not one point that he has made on his stream, not one, that was of any use. Now, I know some of you are going to hear me say that and go, Mike, but he says he supports Medicare for all. Don't you support Medicare for all? No, he does not. Saying you support something and then working to defeat every single politician or organization that's trying to achieve that goal means that you don't actually support that position. So you could say, I support XYZ in the abstract, but if everything you do in the real world is against that goal, then you don't support it. That's the reality. You're just balding. Wow, I just made like 8 arguments and you didn't. Why do you think? I think the biggest problem that we have in our society is people like Asmongold are uneducated, and I mean most, like millions of Americans are actually just illiterate. And this is one of the mistakes and one of the problems that I do have frequently, even with people I think are intelligent, is that they've never been taught critical thinking, and they've also never been taught that intellectual humility is a good thing. And they're so wrapped up with the culture of persuasion and rhetoric and what is effective in convincing people that they never actually bother to learn stuff that's worth convincing people of. Like if I'm really good at convincing you shit, but I don't know anything about the real world, at best I am neutral, and more likely I'm selling my persuasive abilities to make the world worse. If you're good at persuading people, but everything you persuade them to do sucks and makes everybody worse off, then you need to shut the fuck up. And one of the things is, like, there's no shame. And this is a problem for me, because when I tell you guys shit, in my heart, in my core, there is a desire that I only tell you shit that is useful and correct. So when I'm telling you stuff and it turns out that I'm not right, or there's some factor that I didn't consider, that bothers me and I want to correct it with you, right? Because I'm not infallible. Nobody's infallible. But for most people, they don't have that core value system of, I want to teach my audience true things and useful things to better the world. Their only value is, I want an audience. And that is Asmongold in a complete nutshell. He has no beliefs. He has no values. He has no shame. He just wants an audience. If taking a shit into his hand and smearing it on his face is what it took to get him a bigger audience, he would do it right now, because that's the only thing he values. Bigger problem is escapism. Zach and conservatives in general require you to ignore data and focus on how people feel or see things. Literally have to escape into their own mythology to empower themselves. Not very surprising for someone like Zach that lived in WoW for most of his life. Oh yeah, one of the things about Zach that makes him a particularly lazy piece of shit and intellectually void of anything of value is he will frequently say, people believe X, Y, and Z. And enough people believe X, Y, and Z that it now has social power. That is a form of Asmongold's arguments. That's actually almost all of the arguments he makes. People are saying this, people believe. And when you start going, well, those people are wrong, well, he goes, well, you're going to tell 1 million people that they're wrong? Yes, dipshit. If 1 million people think the sky is fucking green, they're fucking wrong. I'm not going to pretend that they're right just because a lot of idiots believe some dumbass shit. Millions of people believe the earth is flat. It doesn't make it flat. Or for something to make more sense, if millions of people believe Zachrar has a girlfriend, those millions of people are wrong. He does not. Okay? Zach is the type of guy that, never mind. I was going to say professionals turn down. Asmongold has clearly never read Antigone. Yeah, well, of course. Mike, did you see how there's a Linux gamer, Mike? Yeah, I did see this guy. He seems like he's pretty cool. He seems like he's being radicalized in real time. A lot of liberals are being radicalized in real time. Notice that Asmongold doesn't really have anything of value to add about the fact that consumer RAM is becoming unaffordable. He doesn't actually care about gaming or the internet in general. He doesn't give a fuck about like reality. He's useless in every way.
Actually hated America in the way that people claim I do. I would probably do Asmongold style commentary. I would actively shift people's attentions away from the real vectors of power and the people that actually harm them, the people that actually control society, back to vulnerable populations and, you know, black people, brown people, Somali people, and collect a paycheck and laugh my way to the bank every day of the week. That's what I would do. If I actually hated America, I would be a Republican. I'd be a right-winger. I would constantly tell you, no, it's not the super wealthy that's at fault here. Come on, don't be stupid. It's the Somalis. Or rather, I would say it's the Somalians. Bro, don't fall into the streamer versus streamer political commentary shit like these do to you. So many of us are here for the actual news. Doing this type of content dampens the impact of that so much. Shut. This is not streamer on streamer shit, okay? There are going to be instances where I have to talk about unrestrained Islamophobia and unrestrained bigotry that is masquerading as political commentary on the platform that I frequent. This isn't drama. Some of you only filter this kind of when you see Asmongold on your screens, you go, oh, this is drama time.
Their lifestyle so they can live here and complain about it. It's ridiculous. This is a ridiculous insult to the country. And no other country in the world should ever expect to put up with this. You would never get away with this.
By the way, can I just say, fuck you, Asmongold, you little rat fuck. What do you mean country put up with what? What the fuck are you talking about, you dumb piece of shit? Fuck you, you fucking cockroach. What, you gonna stop me? Come stop me. You, Zach, come stop me. You fucking roach. I get to say whatever the fuck I want about who I want when I want. You fucking roach. And if I think this country is fucked up, I'm gonna say it. And I'm gonna say it because I think the country could be better. I don't like the fact that I walk around cities and see my fellow Americans on the street, and there's more of them there now than there used to be. That means the country's getting worse, you dumb fucking rat. And I will call that out, and I will speak the truth, whether you like it or not. What are you gonna do about it, bitch?
Once again, the underlying premise is that Somalis are a net negative to the United States of America. And yet there has been no evidence presented to explain why they're a net negative to the United States of America. Not one at all. 2 minutes and 43 seconds. He's just hoping that you understand exactly what he means. And the only way you arrive at that conclusion, by the way, is if you have the exact same worldview. If you do also personally believe that they're a net negative because they're black and they're Muslim. Okay? That's it. That's the underlying premise here. He's not saying it out loud because there isn't anything that he can possibly say. There is no actual proof. It's not like he's hiding his actual opinion. He just keeps saying, this isn't racism. It's just facts. Okay?
You wouldn't get away with this probably in Japan even. You wouldn't get away with this in Saudi Arabia.
First of all, Saudi Arabia is what we need to emulate. Aren't you just saying that banning Muslims is based 5 seconds ago? Now you want to emulate Saudi Arabia?
You wouldn't get away with this in Russia. You wouldn't get away with this in, like, I mean, there's probably some European.
What are you saying? Get away with what? Get away with what? Letting people into the country? Yeah, Japan is incredibly xenophobic. So much so
he's
that
talking about criticizing the leader is what he's talking about. Talking about you're not allowed to criticize the leader in Saudi Arabia. You're not allowed to criticize the leader in Japan, which is not true, obviously. You're not allowed to criticize the leader in Russia. That's what he's saying.
they're actually themselves. First of all, Saudi Arabia also is the most idiotic country to actually present, because most Gulf nation states actually have more immigrant workers that they basically enslaved than they have nationals. Okay, if you knew anything about any country at all, you would probably know a little bit more. You would know, you'd be able to try to present another argument. I cannot believe how much these guys think this guy is brilliant. I can't understand it. This is the longest Asmongold video.
By the way, it's not even about being brilliant or smart or correct or intelligent or any of those things. Okay? Like, that's not what they just like transgression because they're literally either children themselves or they have the mentality of children. Asmongold, it's like you grow up, you go to kindergarten, your kindergarten teacher says, no, you have to take your turn. No, you have to treat other people like you treat yourselves. Oh, you have to care for others. Don't be mean, right? And you're given a bunch of rules where you have to treat other human beings with respect. The golden rule is inculcated. Treat other people with love or treat people how you want to be treated, right? That is what they're rebelling against. They want to be able to be a bully. They want to be able to abuse people and have impunity. That's what it's really about. It's like they want to be able to do shit that's wrong and nobody can do anything about it. That is what they crave. They crave the power to do shit that's evil, face no consequences. To them, to the nihilist conservative like Asmongold, that's real power. That's gratifying. And more importantly, it tranquilizes his fear because Asmongold is a scared little bitch. He's a frightened worm. That's why he hides in his mommy's house. He's a multimillionaire. He could go anywhere and do anything. And he lives in mommy's house. Legitimately, no matter how pathetic you think Asmongold is, he's far more pathetic. He is too terrified to interact with the real world. He is a cow. My God, how do you guys watch that shit? He's mentally ill. He's got frontal lobe damage. How the fuck do people, I mean, I know that a lot of the viewers are botted, but how the fuck do you even watch that for more than 10 minutes? He has bad takes, but he has good ones too. No, he doesn't. No, he fucking doesn't. The problem that you have is you think that conclusions are what make a person have good takes. Like if somebody says a conclusion and you agree with the conclusion, that means they have good takes. No, that's random. Takes are like math problems. You don't get credit for just putting down the answer. It is the process to derive your answer that is the important thing. Asmongold doesn't have the ability to explain how he thinks, why he thinks, how you derive, how he interprets the world around him, how he makes predictions. He just says random shit. That's unwatchable. And that's for dummies who are just there to grunt with recognition of something they agree with or they remember. It's like people that like referential humor. Ooh, I remember that. Rick was a pickle. Rick was a pickle. That's your equivalent. Asmongold cannot explain to you why he believes what he believes. He cannot give you an account of history. He cannot explain his interpretation of economics, law, history, politics, philosophy. He's worthless. He's stupid. And just because you go, no, I agree, everybody deserves health care. That's not a good take if you can't explain how that healthcare is going to be delivered, why everybody's entitled to it, how we could deliver it to everybody. If he doesn't have thoughts in his head, that's not a take.
I've ever watched about something that is supposed to be about policy, about what to do. Abusing social safety nets, I guess he means they're not abusing social safety nets. Okay? There are some who actually get social safety nets or some support from the government. But ultimately, the notion that every American of Somali descent is actually abusing social safety nets here, and that's why they came to America, and that's why they're a net negative without any evidence whatsoever, is just pure, unfiltered, unrestrained, unrestricted racism. That's it. Do you understand? Is it really that difficult to comprehend? If you look at like, I don't know, 10 people of a marginalized group, if you look at 10 people of any background and then assume that every single person is exactly like that, well, you're kind of stupid. You're not a very intelligent person if that's how you're doing analysis. Okay? That's number one. Number two, it is very low IQ.
Also, the other thing that's very low IQ and very stupid is going like, people believe a thing. Therefore, you have to deal with them believing it. Yeah, I'm dealing with it, saying it's wrong and showing you why. I don't have to respect. By the way, chat, I don't care if every other single person on the entire planet believed a wrong thing. It's not going to make me say it's right. That's called self-respect. If you do not have the ability to say everybody else could be wrong about something, then you're a pussy. That's number one. Number two, but there's a corollary to that, which is if everybody believes something, you should probably have humility and look into why they believe what they believe. You shouldn't be some sort of egomaniac that thinks you're God. If I was ever in that situation, I would have a lot of self-doubt and I'd really investigate why I believed what I believed. But nonetheless, if through my reason, I could not come up with a reason to change my mind, that was, I would still hold that position against the world. That's called being a... Asmongold thinks if you just browbeat people with, sentiment, they're going to change their mind. And the reason why is because he's cowardly and he's scared of the mob. He's actually scared. He's scared of dying. I heard that Asmongold is like paralyzed by fear of death. Does anybody I don't want to make fun of people too much for that, but it is level 1 of philosophical thinking. You can kind of see how much people have thought about the deep questions of the world and the universe by how much they're scared of dying. That's level 1 shit, guys. You gotta do better than that. You gotta do better than that. I mean, I get it. It can be painful when you're 15, but you should be able to get out of that spiral by the time you're an adult. You gotta be able to get out of that. Existentialism, absurdism, whatever it takes. But if you're a nihilist as an adult, that's embarrassing. That's like believing in Santa Claus, to be honest. Like legitimately believing in Santa Claus as an adult. He did a bunch of videos with Dr. K. Did Dr. K tell him that he had Diogenes syndrome? Did the psychologist show? Did he diagnose him with it's really senile squalor syndrome. Diogenes syndrome is a misnomer, but did he diagnose him as senile squalor syndrome, or did he ignore the fact that he never takes showers and lives in filth and surrounded by pests? He doesn't diagnose people. Okay, I'm not saying that he needs to formally diagnose, but did he suggest to Asmongold that maybe he needs to look up senile squalor syndrome and get his frontal lobe scanned at a neurologist? And if not, how the fuck is he so incompetent? This is where his frontal lobe impairment happened. By the way, is he backpedaling? I don't know about you guys. I've played a lot of WoW in my day, and I try to avoid backpedaling. Why the fuck is he backpedaling so much? I just looked at the scenario and it's goodbye crawl world. Fuck, that's funny.
Another clear-cut sign of having unimaginably low IQ when you present no argument whatsoever and just lean into your established preconceived biases about an entire group of people. Okay? There's no argument here. There's no argument that Americans of Somali descent are actually a burden on the United States of America. None whatsoever. He's not even attempting to find an argument where he'll like cherry pick data or something. He's just simply saying it. It's just his feelings over facts. No facts necessary, just my feelings. It's just common sense. It's just based. Okay? That's it.
Countries you would, because they have the same problem that we do. But in a general sense, a lot of these countries, like you go to Vietnam, you wouldn't get away with this. This is outrageous. The level of entitlement that these people have is just unbelievable.
Every country on the planet, with the exception of more repressive ones, will allow its citizens to criticize the government. Okay? Minnesotan Americans of Somali background who are American citizens have every right to criticize the American government. If you don't like it, you can leave. You can go to a country where they're not allowed to criticize the government. Why don't you do that? It's one of the things that I love about America, as a matter of fact. It's one of the things I like about America more than China, as a matter of fact. You are un-American. If you hate diversity, you're un-American. America is the most diverse nation on the planet. one of the most redeemable qualities of the United States of America. If you hate diversity, you can get the go live in Japan. Well, you'd probably be diverse there. Go live in Poland. You're a white guy. It's a very white country. Actually, I wouldn't wish that upon Poland. I take it back. I'm sorry. To my Polish chatters, I love you. And I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. And Poland is far from my worst enemy. Okay. The point still stands, though. America is the most diverse nation on the planet. If you don't, you can leave. Another incredibly redeeming quality of the United States of America is that you, at least for now, have the opportunity and the right to be able to criticize the government. As a matter of fact, you can do it even if you're not a citizen, for the record. Free speech protects all, citizens and non-citizens alike. That's a beautiful thing. I like that. That's an American thing. It's actually very different than any other country on the planet. How expansive our First Amendment protections are. If you don't like it, go to a country that doesn't have that kind of protection. But this one does. Asmongold's rebuttal, America's the most racist country on earth, and if you don't like it, you can fucking leave when I make you. Yeah, I mean...
America is not the most racist country in the world, okay? It's just not. And in fact, I encourage the right wing to lean into it. Lean into racism. I am a Kaceytron supporter who is shocked at what a liar Hassan turned out to be. Silence. 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 I see that Ethan Klein's desperate obsession with Hassan has failed to properly get his attention. He thought trying to humiliate Kaceytron by making her read a hostage video script was going to make him look good. He's such a Zionist Israeli that he thinks abusing your victims is like something people are all going to like to see. Sorry, man, this isn't a Palestinian detention camp surrounded with fellow Zionist soldiers like your wife. People don't like seeing people coerced and mistreated, you fucking weirdo. You scumbag piece of shit. We don't like to see that here. So all that happened is you failed. That dude is a fan of the Epstein orbiter. I'm really important. Then he's obviously not really he's not a Kaceytron supporter. I'm really important. How's that guy doing? I haven't looked into that guy lately. How's that guy's career? How's that guy's career doing? That's crazy. That's crazy. Open presents! Thank you for the 25 tier ones. I'm just looking at him and being like, wow, he averages 200 viewers. He's been streaming as long as me. And god damn, dude. You'd think you'd give up at a certain point, you know?
Yes, that's the rebuttal.
It's crazy.
But what I would like to say is that most of us are citizens. On our passport, it says...
Free speech doesn't mean there aren't consequences. Yes, deporting an American citizen for exercising their First Amendment would be...
If you want to know what Destiny, I'm Really Important, and Hutch are going to say, here's what they're going to say. Whatever Chuck Schumer is saying in the moment, or Hakeem Jeffries is saying in the moment, is what they think is the best possible idea for political policy and strategy. Whatever they're doing is the best possible idea. That's it. And you never have to watch their stream again to predict exactly what they're going to say. What is Chuck Schumer saying? That's what they're going to say. And their strategy is, I'm going to become a Democratic Party influencer by just saying Chuck Schumer is a genius. That's their plan. The Democratic Party is going to astroturf me to success by me just being a knowing partisan flack and propagandist.
Not a synagogue, not a church, not a mosque, not a Hindu temple. It is never okay to subject people going into a house of worship to ugly and hateful rhetoric. And that is certainly true of Park East, one of the most storied synagogues in New York City.
Why are you sending me this? Oh, the NYC comptroller. Oh, a gauntlet of hate speech. We see you selling stolen land. Pedophiles and rapists are running our government. Serve Israel. I'm sorry, I don't see hate speech. Brooklyn out of Palestine. Where's the hate speech? Judaism, yes. Zionism, no. State of Israel must go. Where's the hate speech? I don't see hate speech. Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't see any.
Be actually in violation of the First Amendment. Free speech doesn't mean there aren't consequences. Sure. But those consequences can't come from the government, dip. That's the entire purpose of the First Amendment. We're talking about a deportation policy implemented by the federal government. Do you understand? No, you don't understand, because I'm sorry, low IQ. If you're defending Asmongold's low IQ ass racial rant here, you're also IQ. Sorry. So you don't understand what I'm saying. I understand. Okay, good. I'm glad you understand. I apologize for saying you're low IQ. Maybe you're like not as low IQ as I previously thought.
Yeah, the level of entitlement that these people have is just unbelievable. It's crazy.
But what I would like to say is that most of us are citizens. On our passport, it says
for now,
as we are nationals of this country.
For now. Yeah, again, pathetic, weak, insecure for now. Leaning on the government to do harm to random people, including congresspersons. You're fantasizing. This is a power fantasy, okay? This is a power fantasy. For now. One day we'll get our revenge. One day we'll get the government to actually denaturalize you. It's a power fantasy for weak, low IQ, hateful monsters, okay?
We love that Minnesota has welcomed us. Many of us have
big mistake, by the way, should have never made them citizens.
Not been settled in Minnesota. We chose it as a home because the Minnesota people and the state is beautiful and very welcoming, and we are going to be here regardless of what the president has to say.
Just undo it. Just undo it. Yeah, that's it. Well, free handouts, deport them. Yep, doesn't matter to me. Absolutely.
Deport him. American congressperson, by the way. Free handouts, deport them. How many Eurolibs you think go into Asmongold's chat and fantasize about being like right-wingers in America? Yeah, deport them. Yeah, based. Yeah, how about we deport you? Didn't you catch a ban for the Rick Scott tweet? Why does he get to say similar hatred towards a government official? Well, ironically enough, I wasn't even saying that, like, you know, I wasn't saying what people claimed I was saying. I was actually talking about how the Republicans would have to punish Rick Scott if they actually cared. If they actually cared about tackling Medicaid and Medicare fraud. He's just straight up saying we should deport this congressperson. Now, I will explain to you why it doesn't read in the same way. It's because he's leaning into the president saying that, okay? Most Americans don't think deportations are violent because they usually don't have an immediate family member that has experienced a deportation, so they can't conceptualize it as a violent act. That's number one. Number two, when the president is saying like this and you just demand more of it, well, it comes across as a little silly if Twitch is like taking action against someone who's just simply repeating what the president is saying, right? This is the problem with normalization. This is the problem with the bully pulpit. This is the problem with Donald Trump utilizing the bully pulpit in this way. The president is saying this stuff about Ilhan Omar. Of course, Twitch streamers are going to say this kind of stuff about Ilhan Omar. And what's the platform supposed to do? If Hassan says something comparable, the entirety of the internet's bot farms would be mobilizing to get him permabanned, but because it's Asmon, Twitch just doesn't give a It's not just that. There's also a more sophisticated campaign here as well. Whenever something happens, obviously Reddit bots immediately spam it into oblivion, as opposed to like those very same botters downvote whatever thing that comes out about Asmongold. It's not an accident that like Asmongold's worst moments like this, which are very commonplace, are rarely ever plastered all over subreddits. It's because anywhere where Asmongold is mentioned, it's an automatic downvote. You're receiving a.
This is all Blizzard's fault. If WoW was better, Asmongold would have never started grifting. I mean, really, he's always been a right-wing fascist. That's the thing that you guys don't understand. I think a lot of people cope by saying that Asmongold is grifting, but he's always been a fascist. He named his WoW character after the terrorist Anders Breivik. He's always been a fascist. His mom would listen to fascist radio. He said that. He said his mom was a Nick Fuentes fan and would listen to Alex Jones. So as they were, I guess, sitting on welfare, they were raging about welfare people. I don't understand it. But yeah, and his best friend McConnell was constantly making racist and other comments, like sussy ass comments. He's been groiped up from the very beginning. He's always been a fascist. But he hid it under centrism because he was trying to make money, which is what fascists do. They'll often frequently call themselves centrists. The fact that Asmongold calls people dirty and disgusting while living in a roach-infested house and eats once a day, his teeth are rotting and he showers once a week. He doesn't shower once a week. He showers, as far as I know, he doesn't shower. Once a week would be normal hygiene. This is what he said about Hurricane Katrina victims.
Now, I was in high school at the time that Hurricane Katrina happened. And a lot of the displaced people from Hurricane Katrina went to my high school. And they would all wear the same t-shirts, and they were fucking animals. Every single one of them. Honestly, the Hurricane could have done a better job. I fucking hated them. And that's how I know about them. Was a big problem. No, I was in...
Eventually, a hurricane's gonna hit that ratty old pest-infested house in there in Texas. It's just a matter of time before a hurricane spins in that direction. Like, that's literally... It's so fucking gross to be hating on people because they got more unlucky than you did. Like, God, what a pathetic fucking worm. This is a guy who had cockroaches actively crawling on him on his desk, and this was on stream. The guy would pick his gums till they bled and wipe them on the wall. No, I think his gums just bled from advanced gingivitis and periodontic disease. Like, they weren't bleeding because he was picking them. I think they were bleeding because they're infected. And if you're wondering about him being a Nazi fascist, he had a character. Anders Breivik had a character in WoW called Anders Nordic. Now, if you know anything about Nazism, you know that basically Hitler took ideas that he stole from someone else, basically talking about the idea of the Nordic race. And they did this pseudo-scientific argument connecting the Nordic race with the Indo-European, Indo-European culture. So like human, highest form of human civilization comes from like the Andes, and not the Andes, the Himalayas, excuse me. And it was like Indo-Europeans, which were this Nordic race, the Aryan race, right? And then they went to the Nordic region of Northern Europe, and that was like the superior version of humanity, right? So there was this Nordic supremacist, Nazi ideology. That's Nazi Aryanism, basically. So when Anders Nordic, that's what he's kind of obliquely referencing. And then if you look at... So Anders Nordic is the name of the WoW character of Anders Breivik, who did a mass murder of children at a summer camp. And here is his WoW character's name.
Shadow Moon Valley.
Anders Nordic. I don't know if you guys can make it out, but there it is. This is him very early in his career. So he's always been, I mean, that's a deep Nazi dog whistle.
Automatic 3,000 downvotes instantly if there's any sort of critical video or any sort of critical coverage of Asmongold anywhere around Reddit. It is pretty fucking easy to manipulate this stuff. It's the same with Twitter. That there's also a more sophisticated campaign here as well. Whenever something happens, obviously Reddit bots immediately spam it into oblivion, as opposed to like those very same botters downvote whatever thing that comes out about Asmongold. It's not an accident that like Asmongold's worst moments like this, which are very commonplace, are rarely ever plastered all over subreddits. It's because anywhere where Asmongold is mentioned, it's an automatic downvote. You're receiving an automatic 3,000 downvotes instantly if there's any sort of critical video or any sort of critical coverage of Asmongold anywhere around Reddit. It is pretty fucking easy to manipulate this stuff. It's the same with Twitter. Obviously, Twitter is super right-wing anyway. So yeah, he is always, he's completely devoid of scrutiny. It's a fairly effective way. Yeah, the other side of the story is that, yes, liberals also work alongside his audience and target me with regular frequency. Most of the time, liberals don't have an issue with Asmongold's commentary. A lot of liberals on the internet, rather. Not like actual liberal voters. Actual liberal voters take one look at this guy and are horrified. But I mean like liberal content creators, or at least self-described liberal content creators on the internet, are actually perfectly fine with collaborating with right-wing figures, including people who I would say are presenting themselves as far-right like Asmongold. I mean, this is the most straightforward neo-Nazi style commentary I've seen from him yet. Last time I saw something as closely resembling Nazi sentiment was when he said Palestinians are an inferior culture and deserve to be genocided. He's done a poll. Majority of his chat is EU, LARPing as... No, I know, yes. I know. He has a lot of EU watchers.
Look at you, and look at this here. So it's showing EU. Oh my God. Stream summary, maybe. Details. Wow. Yeah, so this is my stream. This is from today. And it's showing 40% for United States. Oh my God. That's insane.
Online liberals love that he says all the nasty shit they believe deep down and are fine with unleashing the far right on minorities as a punishment for not voting for Kamala. Yeah. You don't understand, his entire stream has gotten so bad these clips aren't even the half of it. The people around him don't even say anything. Should we hit out on those associated with him? I mean, don't ask me for advice. I don't get it. He doesn't cover EU. Why would they watch him? Because there's a lot of late night shifters in the European Union countries that are unimaginably racist.
Unfortunately, you know, or fortunately, American politics is entertainment, and there's a lot of Nazis, and Europe has a specific type. I've talked about this before. I don't think Hassan has ever studied nationalism academically like I have. So I know the terms for what we're talking about here. Like, people use the term nationalism, and that's supposed to mean bad on the left, right? Which is, I get it. Like, I guess you could save yourself the cognitive effort of trying to learn about nationalism from a deeper way, and I understand it. I understand why people do that. American nationalism is not the same as European nationalism. European nationalism is blood and soil romantic nationalism, whereas America is a post-settler state. So necessarily, if you're going to be a post-settler state, then you have to accept what Europeans would call mongrelization. To a European, a German is different than a Frenchman, who's different than a Spaniard, who's different from a Brit, who's different from an Italian, who's different from a Hungarian, who's different from a Pole, who's different from a Czech. You get my point, right? But in America, all those people would just be considered white, right? And whiteness is a mongrelization. Now, I'm using the term that the right wing would use in Europe, right? White isn't necessarily a diversity. You have a lot of different European nations. So we have civic nationalism, and our racism is among black versus non-black. So we have created a racial category of the other that we lump in everybody who's being discriminated against into blackness, right? And we have whiteness and we have blackness. Whiteness is really just saying not black. If you want to understand what whiteness really means, that's what it means in America. But in Europe, there is a mythical, romantic nationalism, blood and soil nationalism about specific tribes of humanity that stretches back thousands of years into the mists of time. And that blood and soil nationalism is much more virulent than the kind of civic nationalism that America has. America's nationalism is, you're an American based on believing in the American Constitution or the American idea. It's not connected to a specific blood. And what white means changes according to the political necessities of the rich. So Europeans are much, much, much more attracted to fascism in a very explicit blood and soil manner. That's why in America, you hear right-wingers talking about how people are committing crimes and they're stealing and they're breaking the rules. It's a very legalistic discrimination against immigrants, right? As opposed to saying they are inferior blood. That's much less common in the US. Like, the anti-immigrant sentiment is not they are inferior blood. That is much, much, much less common. But in Europe, there is a focus on a dilution of the nation, of the nation's blood, of outsiders. You can never really be German, that kind of thing. But American, what the fuck is American? American is a mongrel country. It is a country of mixing of various different groups of people that came here. At the end of the day, immigration is part of America's national identity. Okay? Like that, it just fundamentally and by necessity, everybody here, except for the indigenous tribes, could trace their origin to an immigration moment with a specific individual. And so blood and soil nationalism is what is called, and I talk about this a lot because this is what Israel is doing. So it's like blood and soil, aka romantic nationalism, if you're a fascist, that's what you call it, versus what we would say in the US is called civic nationalism. Basically a nationalism that surrounds idea and law. And the status of American does not describe race. American describes a status. Does that make sense? Whereas in Europe, German describes blood. It describes a tribe. And that is that's why Europeans like Nazism. That's actually why the European right likes Trump, because he is importing that kind of European blood and soil nationalism into American politics. I mean, I shouldn't say imported. It's always been here. especially in the southern evangelical Protestant has always kind of been trying to do that, but it's always been a minority. The northern white Catholic was always opposed to the southern evangelical blood and soil nationalism, right? So the Republican Party is really confederizing the U.S. It's colonizing the United States with southern politics. And that is a white identity politics. That's why Asmongold is Texan. And Hassan and I'm Pennsylvanian and Hassan is from New Jersey, right? Like, you know, we don't, whiteness in the North is not white identity politics. That's a Confederate idea. And so the Republican Party is dedicated to the idea of colonizing the country with Confederate politics.
I think you guys understand. European races are playing in a much higher.
Oh, here, this is a perfect example. UK right-wingers versus American right-wingers. Society is weakened by being made up of many different races, ethnicities, and religion. Only 19% of Republicans or Donald Trump supporters agree with that, but 52% of British right-wingers agree with that. So even in America, even Donald Trump supporters are multiculturalists. Why is that? Because America is self-evidently made up of a diverse groups of people. Catholics, Protestants, Jews, atheists, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists. Like, America is self-evidently made up of Germans, French, English, Spanish. Like, there's so many influences in the U.S. that and a million other nations, non-white nations as well. I mean, what makes America America is really white people stealing black culture. Black people develop some sort of cultural innovation and white people steal it. That is really what American culture is. I am uncomfortable with people speaking a foreign language in public places. 47% of Trump supporters, not even a majority. It's bad for society if white people decline as a share of the population. Only 43% of Trump supporters agree. We risk losing our national identity if we are too open to people from all over the world. That's where they were closer in agreement. But again, look at how the British right is much more fascistic. Right-wing Brits are more concerned with immigration, more identitarian, and more race realist than Magaloids. This should come as no surprise to anyone who is familiar with either country. America cannot ever be anything but a proposition civic nationalist state. Meanwhile, Brits have a 1,000-year-old identity. I guarantee you that similar results will be seen if this poll were carried out elsewhere in Europe. Just goes to show that people of Europe have never had a more detestable ruling class. Okay, so I guess this guy's a Nazi. We need an actual nationalism, not civ-nat populism. Wow, that's crazy. The right-wingers are... You see how self-aware these Nazis are? And by the way, I mean, this analysis is correct. That's why the left is going to win. America is not a racist state. And Asmongoldian politics will lose.
Lobby of racism. Much higher ranking lobby. In an MMR situation, the average American racist gets washed by the average European racist, okay? I've talked about this quite a bit. Europeans get real nasty with their racism. And I'm not even talking about just like the Balkans or whatever. I'm talking like European social democracies. American racism is more simple. No pun intended. It's a little bit of a double entendre actually, but it's very black and white. American racism is very black and white. It's like a caveman's version of racism. European racism is racism beyond your comprehension. Americans are simple-minded racists. Yeah, someone in the chat said it. EU racists actually read. Exactly. He wants to collab with Nick Fuentes too.
Nick still wants to do a stream with Asman, calls him a common sense guy. Oh, what a nice guy.
Basically nominate you for Streamer of the Year, Alex. Also, if non-political questions are allowed, what were your favorite video game releases 2025? All the best to you. Rooting for you from Finland.
Yeah, Asmongold has been...
Hey, ADL. Shouts out to the ADL, baby. Up my asshole the entire year, baby. Hey, all of the liberal Zionist Jewish advocacy groups. You did it. Been up my asshole for the last 2 years. Here you go. That's the largest political commentator in North America. The largest political commentator on the same platform that the ADL and all these other institutions were trying to get me deplatformed from.
We got to do a stream. Does he want me to reach out to him?
I think that we might have to wait till next year for that one. I don't know if Twitch is ready for that one yet. Now, I will say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But I don't know if when is sooner than later.
They should focus.
Pussy ass bitch, bring him on, pussy. What happened?
Focus on the Mamdani tracker, you know?
I know the position that I'm in.
I feel like he's like the number one streamer in the world. So I was like waiting for him to but maybe I'll hit him up because I really.
Asmongold knows he's not really the number one streamer in the world because of, the whole botting he's doing. And he wants to put himself like, near the top, but not the top, because if he tries to put himself as the top, the blatant nature of the amount of bots he's running. So he has to try to keep the bots balanced with the real viewers. In my opinion, I don't know this for a fact. I'm not asserting this as a fact. It's just my opinion based on what I know of streaming, is that he gets a lot fewer subscribers than you would expect for someone of his size. And he doesn't run ads, which is odd. Like, why wouldn't you, if he's not running ads, it's probably because, you don't want to get dinged for fraudulently inflating your viewership, right?
Really want to collaborate. I don't want to get him canceled though. So if he doesn't want to do it, I totally understand. But maybe I'll hit him up this week and see if we could set something up if he's into it. But Asmongold, he seems like a very honest guy. Seems like he has a lot of.
I'm too honest. That's the problem. Is I just say what I think. That's the big issue. And sometimes
no, you don't. You constantly put what the fuck you lying ass pussy. You say, "Oh, people are saying." You don't say what you think. What the fuck is he talking about?
Think is something that's really crazy.
Integrity. I know he's not.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's extremely right wing. I think he's just kind of.
I don't like illegal aliens, and I don't like us sending money to Israel. I want us to kick out all the illegal aliens and the people that are mooching.
What the fuck are you talking about? You were cheering on Israel killing Palestinians, you fucking liar. When you were kissing Destiny's Zionist ass and Ethan Klein's Zionist ass. What are you talking about? He does that throwaway because he's a pussy. Can't stand for anything he says. God damn, what a coward, man.
Our government that aren't even citizens here. I want to just kick them, get them out. That's what I think. How about that? Is that right wing? I feel like that's common.
Me, I'm ideologically right.
Yeah, except when he says, I want to kick all the illegal aliens out of the country, here he's talking about deporting every Somali American from Minnesota. 90% of them are American citizens. So what happened? So I guess when he says illegal aliens, he means, a group of people that happen to be American citizens too.
He just means people that he doesn't like. They become illegal because Asmongold doesn't like them. Why hasn't Asmongold gone and done the catch 'em all shit yet? Why haven't you left your house in your Pokemon cosplay, Asmongold? Where are you at? You were supposed to reach out and work with the Trump administration, go on an ICE ride along. What happened? Mike, don't say pussy. Like, I know I'm trying not to say that anymore because it's cringe, but God, he is such a coward.
He's talking about revoking the citizenship of an American congressperson of Somali background while fantasizing about collaborating with Nick Fuentes, an open neo-Nazi. Not that the word holds any power anymore because Israel kind of blew their load on yelling at every single person that is a decent human being that saw what Israel was doing and thought it was unconscionable. They just basically diluted the term anti-Semitism so much that virtually no one thinks anyone is anti-Semitic anymore. And they're still doing it. They're like calling Miss Rachel an anti-Semite. Spent 2 years calling me a anti-Semite. Oh, good luck. Good job. You did it. Now actual anti-Semites are just going to be seen as normal people who hate Israel, right? Oh, it's just common sense.
Wing Catholic.
I was raised had communion.
Strikes me as someone who's just common sense. He agrees with a lot of the common sense things we talk about. He's not a psycho leftist like these guys like Hassan Piker that are. I think they treated him like shit over the years. He, like a lot of people, I think just saw what the radical left really was.
A bunch of nutballs.
But anyway, so maybe we could collaborate.
Matthew P. sent $25.
It's not a.
Yeah. Remember, Ethan Klein, who was Jewish himself, spent the last 2 years collaborating with this guy with endless attacks against me. He even went so far as to say, I don't think Asmongold is like, a Trump supporter or something. He's like a pretty reasonable guy.
Yeah. But he's like pro-Trump, isn't he?
Oh my God, is he?
I wouldn't say I have to imagine, right?
I don't think he's like pro-Trump explicitly.
Honestly, every time you watch Ethan Klein, it's more unattractive. Like, he is truly a vile, disgusting piece of shit. And just so profoundly uncool in just every way. How the fuck has anybody watched this guy? It's crazy. He has nothing to say of value. Nothing at all.
Overtly. I know people try to say that. I think he definitely leans more conservative, but I don't think he's as conservative as people try to paint him out to be.
Well, let's see.
He's such a liar with no integrity. You have absolutely no integrity. God damn, what a fucking loser you are.
Asman is Trump killed it.
He's Trump coded. That's
no,
a good...
Trump killed it.
What?
Killed
that sounds pretty pro-Trump.
He said Trump what?
Killed it.
Oh, killed it.
In other words, we'll execute the baby.
I think I would say he's Trump coded.
Trump's good at this. ...
I've watched his content. It's not.
That was said sarcastically.
It's not super pro-Trump. He's Trump coded though.
You should ask every remaining Ethan Klein fan how he feels about this in his conquest against anti-Semitism. Where's the context new for Asmongold, Ethan?
Matter of if, but when. I just don't know if it's going to be soon. That's the way I see it. And, you know, I know the position that I'm in.
He made Kaceytron apologize to that guy.
I also want to take the opportunity to acknowledge other misconduct and bad behavior I have exhibited online. For example, weaponizing the death of Asmongold's mother was inexcusable. I should know better.
In a settlement case regarding copyright, Ethan Klein bizarrely forces Kaceytron to apologize to Asmongold. By the way, chat, does he think this makes him look good? Does he think it makes her look bad? If anything, this makes it so clear that it's coerced. He undermines that's the thing about Ethan Klein. He's a dumb piece of shit. He doesn't understand. He doesn't have the ability to have theory of mind in other people. Somebody who has low cognitive ability like Ethan Klein, they don't have the ability to have theory of mind. What does that mean? It means they don't know how to imagine how another person thinks. All they can do is react to things that are happening in front of them and whether it gratifies their ego. But everybody else with theory of mind, which is, it's not extremely highly intellectually demanding, but it does require you to have at least normal level intelligence. They could see that video and they would go, if I write this thing about apologizing to Asmongold, everybody's going to understand that this is not something that Kaceytron wrote and she's being forced or coerced to do it to protect her family from legal costs. And therefore, everything that's said in this video is clearly being written by Ethan Klein and therefore has no value at all. And this is a rich guy bullying somebody who has disabled family members they're taking care of using his lawyer. So everybody looks at that and goes, ew, Ethan Klein's disgusting. They don't look at that and go, oh my God, I can't believe Kaceytron bullied Asmongold. Nobody looks at that and says that. Everybody looks at that and goes, oh, this is Ethan Klein. Ew. So because he's dumb, and by the way, chat, he was too stupid to know this. And so was his wife. He and his wife are so intellectually inferior mentally that they couldn't realize this is actually going to harm our reputations more. We're getting a settlement that's going to hurt our reputation. Now, an intelligent person would have written a much more subtle apology, which would have focused on Kaceytron and how she treated Ethan and Ethan alone, and would have kept to stuff that normies or third parties were offended by or might be offended by without context. But Ethan Klein is too stupid. He's too fucking stupid to understand how that other people have brains. Profoundly despicable and, this is more important, inferior person.
Because I have 3 disabled people that rely on me. Moving forward, I will do better.
Worst? Yeah, I think so. And settled in Minnesota, so they're settlers? I guess so, right? And because you had the best benefits? Yeah, of course, because Minnesota's giving them money. And it's very obvious, isn't it?
What is the wait? What do you mean Minnesota's giving them money? Like, what is this argument? Why Minnesota? They're settlers? Like, none of this makes sense. I can't even make sense of what he's trying to say here. What's the argument?
I feel like that's clearly what's happening. And anyone can be a citizen now, a way to devalue it. I mean, it's not really about that. It's just about a general sense of these people coming into the country and then being a drain on the country. Like, it's literally that simple. So, people try to turn this into a race and a religious thing, and I'm sure for some people it is, but for me it's not. It's your...
You're saying, and this is why Asmongold is really anti-American in all the ways that actually matter. He's anti-American. And that way is he believes that you should be judged by the actions of others. He believes that you should be collectively punished for stuff that you had nothing to do with because of what your race is or what your religion is. That's what he believes.
Coming in here, you don't like the country. You want to change everything. You want it to be more like the shit.
Somali GDP is around.
I think the reason why everybody who knows the context, Boom Dada, and they have no sympathy for Asmongold is because he laughed at children being killed in Israel by Israel. He laughed at children being murdered in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and he said they deserved it because they are in an inferior culture. So I think most people don't, because he didn't have sympathy for children being murdered in cold blood. People had no sympathy for him negligently, allowing his mother to smoke while on 100% oxygen and therefore causing an explosion and injuring her. I think people were like, they didn't have sympathy for his feelings anymore because he taunted children for being murdered, right? Like, so they were like, they didn't have sympathy for him anymore. And they don't really consider him a so they don't feel bad for him that he suffers because he relishes in the suffering of innocence. So when people say like, hey, his neglect of his mother ultimately led to her death, that is a harsh opinion to have. A lot of people are saying that. A lot of people believe that you could really blame Asmongold for the death of his mother. A lot of people believe that. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm just reporting what a lot of people believe, right? Many people are saying that. Many people are believing that. I mean, people in my chat believe it. There's even people. So if there's people in my chat that believe that, then that clearly is an opinion that's out there. And I don't think that, Kaceytron saying that is beyond the pale, right? Like that's just observing an opinion that a lot of people have. Now, if you disagree with the way I just presented that argument, that's called the Asmongold special.
Around $12 billion. Somalis have an estimated $8 billion impact on the state's economy. Somali Minnesotans generate at least $500 million in income annually. They pay about $67 million in state and local taxes. It's extra crazy because Asmongold was on government handouts his entire life. He was on food stamps and shit. And I have no issue with that, for the record. I have no issue with anyone.
I believe that if you vote for Republicans, you should not be able to get any government benefit whatsoever. I believe that if you vote for Republicans, you are not allowed to get any government benefits. It should be Republican Party opting out of all government benefits. Now, you still have to pay taxes because you live in our society. But if you support stripping those benefits, you're not allowed to ever collect them ever again. It's a permanent opt-out. And I want you to know that I will be heartless in enforcing this provision. Like, that's the difference between me and liberals, is that I will hold you to that. When I see you sign that dotted line, I want to take away food help to other people. You will never get it if I have my way. I will hold you to account. I think you'll see the conservative movement dwindling very fast.
That needs government assistance to be able to get government assistance. Okay. Also, South Minneapolis native here voted Omar Fateh in the state Senate with flaming pride. My Somali neighbors were the best. The South Side was actually as deeply Somali as they want to believe. I'd have been happier. Like, the argument here is also incredibly stupid because, like, the Somali population isn't even undocumented. Okay. They're American citizens. And the notion that they're coming to the United States of America to take advantage of the safety nets is so stupid because the undocumented population can't take advantage of the safety nets anyway. So he's wrong on that front as well. And the states with much larger undocumented populations are states like California and states like Texas, states like Florida. They all go into Minneapolis to take advantage of these social safety nets that are apparently bountiful for every undocumented person. None of this makes sense. I mean, he's right. That's why famously states like Texas and Florida have one of the highest percentages of undocumented immigrants that are benefiting from the famously large amount of government assistance. Fizz, this person is literally repeating exactly what I said. And they're not being, they're being sarcastic. This is the same point that I made. He said famously blue states like Texas and Florida. He's being sarcastic. And then he said the famously large amount of government assistance they provide. The American government doesn't offer a shit ton of benefits, and they offer zero benefits to undocumented migrants. Why do you keep defending people who committed fraud? If you think I'm defending anything but the principle that just because a handful of Somali people, American citizens of Somali background, committed fraud, That doesn't mean all Somali people are doing fraud. That's just me defending the principle that a couple people that are in the margins do not determine the entire group of this a group of the people living on U.S. soil. That's what I'm defending. Okay, what the are you saying? You have this notion that all Somali Americans are doing welfare fraud. Evidence is not on your side on the matter. Evidence is on my side on the matter. Just as though any random white person or a number of different white people do not represent all white people, a handful of Somali people do not represent all Somali people. Stupid? Well, yes, the answer is yes. Sorry. This is very low IQ behavior. This is why we need small government. We don't need a government that subsidizes poor individuals.
I want to show you guys something that I haven't watched in a minute. And I want to explain to you why this is stupid. And I want to explain why this, man, I'm really important. I like David Pakman and I'm really important. But I'm actually secretly a 10-year-long... Oh, wait, you followed Kaceytron July 7th. We know that you are a Destiny orbiter. We're not confused about it. We're not confused. I like David Pakman. I'm really important. I've been following David Pakman since 2022. Embarrassing.
Brother, you are barely sentient. In your shoes, I wouldn't be talking a big game about cutting government subsidies.
Does it follow Destiny? Excuse me. Does it follow Hassan? Does it follow me? Does it follow Denims? Does it follow Frogan? Follows David Pakman and I'm really important. But no, guys, they're a secret super Casey fan.
To poor people, okay? If you haven't been taking advantage of it already, you probably are going to desperately need it in the future. The f do you mean? This is why we need small government. You are advocating against your best interest already because you are assuming that there are some people that you don't like out there taking advantage of these social safety nets. They've already won, okay? The super wealthy have already dominated you. You're already their servant. You're their dog. You're advocating against your best interest and the best interests of others with the same class position as you because you think there's people out there that you've been taught to hate that might be taking advantage of these programs. These programs are there so that people who are in the worst place in their lives can actually recover, can actually become productive members of society again. Imagine paying extra taxes for people to commit fraud and healthcare fraud. He's not understanding. I don't think he's hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth. And if he is hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth, I don't think he's understanding what I'm saying. Good luck to you, chatter. One day you will absolutely need social safety nets, though. Whether because you're old and you're retired, or whether it's because you accidentally drove your forklift into a wall because, you know, you're John Fettermaning in real time. And at which point you will need disability pay. And luckily, at least at this stage, we still have a little bit of that left, regardless of people like you advocating to erode it.
Ideology, the same shit here, and people do a protest in Michigan and they're getting assaulted. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's it. That's what. Wait, he moved on to Dearborn now. Now he's saying that people in Dearborn, Michigan. I wonder why he brought up Dearborn. Remember when he was saying Islamophobia is not real? It's just, people don't want you to criticize Islam. Interesting. What is your criticism of Islam in this situation? First, you say a Muslim, black, Somali background, American citizen congresswoman is a parasitic person who needs to be deported. Then you talk about how all of these other African nations are actually shithole nations and people are coming from these nations to leech on our social safety nets with no evidence whatsoever. And then you turn around and you start talking about Dearborn, Michigan. It's just all tying to this grand narrative. But it's just common sense, right? Common sense, dude. You don't get it. Matt Walsh chimes in. Oh, yeah, I know. This is the average IQ in Somalia is 68, which is below the line for mental. 7 out of 10 Somalians live in poverty. It says Somalians. Their per capita GDP is $1,000. USA is 90,000. Somalia does not have a functional waste management system. The tallest fully constructed building in the country is 10 stories. So where's this Somali excellence exactly? I mean, look at the video. 34K likes, oh brother.
First of all, this is not even. First of all, not true. The average IQ thing is just made up. Like that's legitimately just made up blather. Made up blather. This is just made up. This is a complete lie. 7 out of 10 Somalians live in poverty. The America, oh my God, Jesus Christ, has invaded this country like 4 fucking times.
Dude, there is nothing more comforting than a bunch of low IQ white people feeling a sense of superiority over made up narratives and the notion that the entire country of Somalia is low IQ, while simultaneously posturing about how much Somalia is in ruins as a direct consequence of Western intervention. Like, you didn't do any of that shit. Why are you bringing up low IQ so much? I just realized that I'm caving on it. Okay, you want to know why? I'm caving on it because obviously one of the classic signs of someone being low intelligence is this hyper focus on IQ, right? But honestly, they obsess over it. They love saying it. They love talking about it, and they get real butt mad when you say, no, actually, you're low IQ. I don't think IQ is a metric of a decent or great metric of intellect in the way that we understand it. I know when someone talks about IQ, first of all, it's bastardized like this all the time. The shithole argument is entirely oriented around the idea of genetic supremacy and predisposition, i.e. Western white exceptionalism, and third world countries are third world because of the genetics of the population. Yep, they could not advance because they're inferior. It is a coward's way of saying that all people from the continent of Africa are genetically inferior, and you don't want to say it out loud. You don't want to say the N-word, or you don't want to say all people from the continent of Africa are genetically inferior. So you go, oh, well, there's countries, they just can't advance. They just can't advance for some reason. Let's not analyze what the reasons are. I'm sorry, but if you have to compare the wealthiest nation on earth to a nation that we have destroyed and the living standards in a country that we have destroyed, I don't think that's a sign of progress for America. Okay? I think that's very bad. As a matter of fact, what are we doing? Why won't you compare us to China? Why won't you compare us to social democracies in Europe? Are we really? Is this what we're doing? Oh, well, there's these other countries out there that we've dominated and destroyed, and they're in a dire situation compared to us. It's like, yeah, but that shouldn't even be the contest. How is this the contest? We're the wealthiest nation on the planet. Sock them countries are disgusting.
Oh, yeah, this is so funny.
Nobody thinks that it will benefit America to become more like Haiti. Nobody thinks that. Or I would challenge anyone, if they do think that, to explain how that's the case. In what way could this country be improved by making it more like Haiti? When you look at Haiti, what part of Haiti are you saying to yourself,
what's America's
we need more of
beef
that?
with Somalia?
Beaches.
Take a fucking wild guess. Take a wild fucking guess.
Well, we have more beaches than them too, right? Don't we?
Right.
We're a much bigger country.
We don't want a marine invasion and occupation of the United States that constantly decapitates governments and takes the money out of the country and saddles us with
we don't want the Clintons
debt
either.
from a revolution. Yeah.
Right. Although I don't. So you're saying that
we wouldn't want to be like basically a colony that the entire West spends 200 years punishing after the Haitian Revolution.
I get that. I understand that, but also at a certain
we wouldn't want that. No, yes.
We wouldn't want that, but I would also say that that's not entirely why Haiti's in the position that it's in. I mean, at a certain point, as a country, you have to stand on your own 2 feet and take care of yourself. And
but at what point is that? They elect Aristide and we overthrow Aristide. Then they elect Jovenel Moïse. Jovenel Moïse is assassinated a bunch of people with American connections, and then we install in 2021. Like the United States installed the prime minister that we just ousted. Like, so we could say, okay, yeah, you got to get over the 200 years ago, but like we're still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not in favor of, I'm very non-interventionist in my policies, so I'm not in favor of most of the things that we're doing in other countries.
We just made the new government in Haiti in a hotel room in Jamaica, and then we insisted that whatever government we made in Jamaica had to allow Kenyan troops to come in under the flag of the UN in order to go to war with
Yeah, I'm not interested in, if it were up to me, I'm not interested in doing anything in Haiti. Like let Haiti be Haiti and take care of them. That's sort of my whole point here. let them take care of themselves and their own problems. I'm also not saying that there's like never a scenario where we would let someone from Haiti into the country. It doesn't have to just be about Haiti, but when you're throwing open the gates and just inviting anyone, in particular,
I guess
third world.
I guess your assumption there was that it is Haitian people that are creating the conditions on Haiti, and that if the Haitian people come to Springfield, they will recreate the conditions
Well, but I don't
that
think
are
you
Haiti
can-
in Springfield. Whereas what I'm saying is that it's actually the U.S. that has.
I don't think you can entirely put it on
largely.
It's hilarious how conservatives don't know anything. Man, that country's really fucked up. And it's like, well, we bombed them and destroyed everything they were doing and killed their leaders and then sanctioned them and blockaded them. Oh, okay. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And there won't be any refugees from that country.
An imperialist? Who gives a f? We're talking about America. It's the ultimate imperialist nation. You're missing the point. You're missing the forest for the trees here. My point is, they do even less.
The sock them countries are imperialist is one of those funny copes where it's like, are you really trying to assert that Sweden is doing the same level of imperialism as the United States of America? Come on, guys. Come on. You start to get to these like ridiculous circles where it's like, well, if anybody trades with any other country, well, then that means there's unequal exchange. And then, you get to that kind of like thought terminating cliche. The United States of America had a massive diplomatic break with Sweden because Sweden supported North Vietnam in the war. Sweden literally sent aid to North Vietnam to support them during the war. Is that imperialist aid? I honest to God want an answer.
Imperial conquest than we do. They just basically take advantage of being a periphery state. Having said that, however, they have better redistributive policies than we do. They have higher living standards than we do. And that's precisely the reason why Americans will never compare America to countries like that one. And whenever people actually do make that comparison, they have to cope and seethe and say, oh, it's because those countries are not diverse.
I don't know what, I hate these people, bro.
Somebody just said, well, they invested some American stocks. Norway Wealth Fund divests from several Israeli companies due to Gaza war. Norway's $2 trillion sovereign wealth fund says it is terminating all contracts with asset managers handling its Israeli investments and has divested parts of its portfolio. We have completely sold out of these positions. These measures were taken in response to extraordinary circumstances. The situation in Gaza is a serious humanitarian crisis. We constantly monitor companies' risk management related to conflict zones and respect for human rights. I mean, okay, I'm not saying this is like the solution. This is socialism, but I think it's a good thing that, I mean, we're trying to get Zoran to do the same thing in New York. They actually paused this. Oh my God. Do you see the pressure? Norway pauses ethical divestment by sovereign wealth fund amid U.S. scrutiny. Oh, look at that. Joe Biden and Donald Trump doing this vote. Finance minister says fund won't be able to invest in the world's biggest companies if current guidelines continue. Opposition socialists say move comes due to fear of Trump. So wait a minute. You're saying that social democrats are imperialist when it's not even social democrats in power? Wow, the right wing in Norway aligned with Israel. You don't say. It's almost as if the right wing is bad. On Tuesday, that party, the socialist left, said the government was acting out of fear of the United States. This is without a doubt really about a fear of Trump's reactions. God. It's so funny because the United States of America is coercing Norway into not divesting in Israel. And then people go, see, this is why supporting the left is useless. Like maybe if the United States, I don't know, wasn't coercing countries, they might stand up to Israel more. That might be a thing to consider why it's worthwhile to pursue it in the United States.
They do. Like they come to our country and do this shit. And then they call us racist as if the problem is your skin color. No, it's what you're doing. It's outrageous. The level of manipulation. And I'm glad to see that very few people are still buying into the racism wool over their eyes. Oh, well, we're not going to listen to this. And it's not that bad. No, man.
Guy on the tail end of a 5-minute and 20-second, no evidence, all pure facts, riddled with generalizations rant about the inferiority and the parasitic nature of the Somali turns around and goes, oh, and then, yeah, they just say you're racist. They have no argument. I presented, I think, a pretty solid argument as to why this is a racist rant, okay? The reason why it's a racist rant is not because it hurts my feelings. The reason why it's a racist rant is because it's entirely about Asmongold's feelings, okay? It's pure fifi, no fact. And it's actually insulting to the intelligence of the average racist that's tuning in to listen to this kind of commentary, because you're basically assuming that they're too stupid to actually investigate, that they'll just take whatever you're saying at face value, and many of them do, because like I said, being racist is an unimaginably low IQ trait. Let's be. But if your entire argument revolves around your own personal feelings and your fears and your anger and resentment around perceived slights and entirely made up issues about a population of Somali Americans taking advantage of social safety nets, because you saw one example in the news as of late where there was like a handful of Somali people that were investigated for what was the actual fraud to? Was it welfare fraud or Medicare fraud? Ultimately, you use a lot of words to basically say, I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't want them here. Actually, I mean, he did literally say that. Pretty much. Love that Somalis are finding the time to take IQ tests on a nationwide level. Yeah, I mean, that's stupid anyway. I don't know how to explain this other than I'm going to be as blunt as I possibly can. A Somali refugee lives in the living standards that he or she lives in because of colonial domination and a tremendous amount of destabilization, right? Whether it be the IMF or the World Bank that has absolutely gutted the economy, destroyed it, implemented austerity measures, and the government hasn't functionally existed for like the better part of the past decade. You, on the other hand, are in the top 1% of wealth in the wealthiest country on the planet. And the reality of the matter is, the average Somali refugee in your living circumstances would probably actually improve their living conditions tremendously, as opposed to the living conditions that you live in, that you choose to live in currently. What's your excuse? That dude's living in a country where there's no working sewage system. You don't have a working sewage system in your house, Texas. And on top of that, you're super wealthy.
Did Hassan get banned? Why are there refugees? Because he's not streaming today. He's currently over the Atlantic.
It doesn't make any sense. Bring a guy from Somalia into Asmongold's house, and he will literally change that house under a week, okay? He'll be living like a god in that house. He'll clean it up. He'll fix.
Apparently there's a memes that's happening where Somalis are saying that they were promised Minnesota 5,000 years ago by God, and they're proposing a two-state solution where they get all of Minnesota and the United States of America gets the other 49 states. And it's like, look how big America is, and we just want this small section for us. And the conservatives are getting fucking furious. Oh no. Somebody was posting AI slop of Trump. Stop with the AI slop. It's really bad. It's really fucking bad.
Fix it up. He'll make a family there. You know what I mean? You choose to live like you're living in a refugee camp. It makes no sense. And then he just sits around and says, oh, these guys are losers. They're inferior. Not inferior to you.
Like, nobody gives a shit about that word anymore. It's so obnoxious. Aren't they racist too, though? Of course they're racist. They're
Someone in his chat was like, aren't they racist though? We should bring them here. We like that. We need more racists.
Oh, hell yeah. Somalis are mocking U.S. racism by joking that Minnesota was promised to them 3,000 years ago. Now, why would I leave land when I was promised this land 3,000 years ago? Many are parroting pro-Israel posts defending Israel's genocide and ethnic cleansing of Palestine. Look at me. I am mayor of Minneapolis now. Conservatives finding out that Minnesota was promised to us. Minnesota is home to the largest Somali population in the U.S. Many has arrived as refugees in the 90s. This trend follows statements and attacks by U.S. President Donald Trump against Minnesota's Somali population. Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state, and billions of dollars are missing. Billions! Trump has a long history of attacking Representative Ilhan Omar, the first Somali American congresswoman, including falsely suggesting she may have entered the U.S. illegally. Trump announced he was ending legal protections for Somali immigrants in Minnesota. Over 90% of Somali people in Minnesota are now U.S. citizens. It's so weird to target Somali immigrants in Minnesota. Can you imagine the adjustment it would take going from East Africa to Minnesota? Wow, and it's almost like America was designed for people to move here and then become part of our culture and society. It's almost like America, the only thing that makes America cool is that it encouraged people to come and fuse their own unique culture and identity with greater American identity. That's like the only good thing about the country's entire ethos is that, hey, you could come here and be your authentic self and then fuse that culture and society with the greater culture and society and derive something new and unique. Wow, it's almost like that's the only thing that worked about this country. What do you mean that Kaceytron won? I mean exactly what I said. Kaceytron won. Ethan Klein had two goals. Financially abuse Kaceytron and ruin her life and improve his reputation. He failed on both counts. He was outmaneuvered legally by Kaceytron, and his reputation is even more in tatters. He's such a pathetic worm that he couldn't even bully a woman who has 3 disabled family members relying on her, who makes a middle-class income as the primary breadwinner in her family. The multimillionaire from Bel Air, wielding his lawyers, was forced to mediate for a piddly sum in a hostage video that just makes his reputation worse. I'm sorry, but Kaceytron won. Basically, Ethan Klein paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to run his reputation through the mud further. What a fucking idiot. Did Kaceytron win the case? They settled. They had a settlement. Basically, Ethan Klein did a nuisance copyright lawsuit, which is a major problem in our country. He thought her reading his statement would alienate her from her friends and supporters because he would cut someone off for doing the same thing. He just assumed everyone is as gross as he is. Yes, because he's a fucking evil rat. He's a fucking evil rat. And this is what he doesn't understand, is that all of us, we care about Casey and her family. And we understand that her words were coerced. So we don't hold them against her. Would you hold something against someone if there was a gun to their head? If somebody put a gun to their head and said, you better say Mike is stinky or else I'll shoot. I want you to say Mike is stinky. And then if they proudly play the video, nobody's going to be like, oh my God, Mike must be stinky. They're going to be like, Jesus Christ, what a freak you are, putting your gun to their head. Nobody cares about the message if it was coerced. But because he's an abuser, because he's an evil rat, he doesn't know. He thinks like that. He thinks, haha, I demonstrated my strength. Because fundamentally, he's a weak bully. And nobody, literally no one. Your title is genius. These losers know exactly what happened and just can't help themselves. But I argued against it. She did absolutely win. Of course she won. Of course she won. I call it the Kaceytron. The Kaceytron Gambit crushes Ethan Klein. The Kaceytron Gambit. She gave him exactly what he wished for, chat. She gave him exactly what he wished for. And he choked on it. Zionist sued our Palestine student group and the judge dismissed it. They had to pay our lawyers. Hilarious. Hilarious. Can anybody show me one person who's not a total piece of shit who turned on Kaceytron over this statement? There really isn't an example. No one is mad. Hassan's not mad. I'm not mad. None of us are mad. We say this is exactly what Kaceytron needed to do in order to protect her family, and it just makes Ethan Klein look worse. What a fucking maneuver she pulled off. She got herself out from under a lawsuit for relatively cheap because she was able to fundraise from the GoFundMe. Basically, other people paid most of the legal expenses. She'll have to pay a small settlement out of her own money because she promised to do that. And I know for a fact that she will not take any of your money to give to Ethan Klein. She basically forced the mediation because she said she would agree to pay a small amount of money. The mediator basically forced a settlement. And then she read the video in such a perfect way that everybody looks at it and goes, oh my God, is there a gun to her head? It has no power whatsoever.
We have breaking news out of the Supreme Court. Let's go to our CNN chief Supreme Court analyst, Joan Biskupic, who is in the newsroom. What's happening, Joan?
Did you see Bad Epinata use it as an opportunity to shit on Hassan? What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him is that he's a piece of shit. And he's allied with Ethan Klein, and he's allied with Stop Anti-Semitism, and he's allied with Israel. And he's a wrecker who lives in, he's a double colonizer wrecker who wants to prevent anti-Zionism from rising in the US. And he wants to make money off dopey Americans who get tricked. That's what Bad Epinata is. That's what he's about. He's trying to ally himself with the interests of Israel so that his wrecker content gets promoted in the algorithm. Because the only threat to Israel is a shift in American opinion. Because unfortunately, there's no state or organization that is going to stand up to the US. So if we're going to destroy Israel, we have to make Americans stop supporting Israel. And the only group of Americans that are interested in and substantively opposing Israel are American left-wingers. And so everybody recognizes that is the reality. And so if you support Israel, you'll attack the American left. Das ist das. There's no sandwich? Are you taking my food? You don't have a bun or anything? Oh, I'm grateful. I'm just surprised. Like, he was like, here's a pulled pork barbecue and mac and cheese. And I'm like, but where's the sandwich? It's a lot of pork. That's a lot of pork. Yeah. Thank you, Vio. That's a lunch chat. You're right. Bread is just empty carbs. You're right. The true supporters of Israel are American leftists. I just explained it. Are you stupid? The only way Israel is going to be stopped is if American leftists take power and change and shift the American strategic relationship to Israel, and for the United States to stop supporting Israel in the Security Council. That's exactly what stopped apartheid South Africa. Apartheid South Africa kept going until the United States shifted its position on apartheid South Africa and it collapsed immediately. That's the same thing that will happen with Israel. I know it's unsatisfying, but it's just geopolitical reality. I'm not saying that Americans are like the fucking saviors or anything. We just need to stop supporting the evil. And the moment we stop supporting our colony, it will collapse. So if you want to stop Israel, you should be supporting those of us who are anti-Israel. But if you just want to make money from slop YouTube content, you would make anti-Hassan videos. And the algorithm wants to reward you for being a wrecker, obviously, because they want to create lack of solidarity on the left in America. So the right wing is incentivized to promote wrecker behavior because it makes the left ineffective. It's not that complicated.
Supreme Court just this minute, Brianna, announced it's going to take up a challenge to President Trump's order lifting birthright citizenship. You might remember on January 20th, his first day in office, he took his Sharpie pen and he said, this is a big one. And what he did was he tried to eliminate the automatic birthright citizenship that all Americans have had for more than a century.
What the fuck?
And what that does, it goes to the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. That means that anyone who's born here, Brianna, automatically becomes a US citizen. And
my voice just cracked. What the fuck? This is the best pork barbecue I've ever had. What the hell? What the fuck? This is making me mad. This is actually making me mad. Maybe don't say this is good, this is busted over a video of birthright citizenship being deleted. That's not what's happening. What's happening is the Supreme Court is going to hear if they can hear a case on blocking Trump. I actually think the Supreme Court might side against Trump on this one. I do think the Supreme Court is worried about people like me gaining more support by coming out in favor of packing the Supreme Court. That if they're this blatantly unconstitutional, it will discredit centrism even more. The Republicans are trying to discredit the Democrats, but they want centrism to be not fully discredited because that's their best ally. Does that make sense? So I think they might actually block Trump on this one. The Supreme Court will stand for the Constitution. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this one is against the plain text of the Constitution. It's so blatantly, obviously bad that if they actually try to do this, first of all, what is the basis of American citizenship then? It completely overturns all of American citizenship. Foundationally is broken. How many generations are we going back? How are you a citizen if not by birthright? It fundamentally breaks America if you do this. So maybe they will do it, but that would be good for us, because we would be like, the Supreme Court needs to be thrown out of office. It would be good for the radical left if they did something that insane. It would be an accelerationist move.
What Donald Trump's executive order tried to do was say anyone who was born of someone who was not here lawfully or who was here on some sort of temporary status, that person's baby would not automatically be a citizen. It's a very it's probably, of all the Trump actions that have been taken to date, Brianna, this one is the most challenging, because what it does is it flies in the face of the 14th Amendment that was adopted in 1868, and it flies in the face of an 1898 Supreme Court precedent that said even if you were born of, in that case it happened to be a Chinese national, even if you were born of someone who was not here as a U.S. citizen, you definitely still have citizenship here in the U.S., Brianna.
I mean, listen, if they, both of my parents were American citizens, but my mother was born to a Scottish, my grandfather on my mother's side was not an American citizen. So am I not an American citizen? By the way, Etymology Nerd posted another banger I wanted to show you guys.
The thing people don't understand about AI accelerationists is that they literally operate under a different set of logical assumptions than we do. Like when Peter Thiel called Greta Thunberg the Antichrist, he actually meant that because he thinks we're approaching the singularity with AI, and anybody who gets in the way of that is evil. And a lot of other very rich people in tech are also transhumanists who believe that we should develop and integrate with AI as quickly as possible. But this all rests under the very flawed assumption that a human-machine singularity is going to happen. This ultimately stems out of the Cartesian idea of dualism, that the mind can be separated from the body and therefore uploaded to a machine. But that's a very flawed understanding of consciousness. In reality, we're deeply enmeshed in our bodies and our environments, and your consciousness is inseparable from your sensory experience. And yet, this already incorrect idea of dualism is then combined with a form of teleological thinking, that things have an innate purpose and are going to evolve in a particular direction. In fact, the whole singularity discourse started with the Jesuit priest Pierre de Chardin, who theorized in the early 1900s that humanity was building toward an omega point where our evolution would ultimately unify us with God. That fatalistic idea, stemming from Catholic eschatology, then gets carried over to Silicon Valley tech bros, who start structuring our conversations and our technologies around the inevitability of our consciousness merging with AI, effectively creating God. Of course, this does just help them justify making a lot of money really quickly without regulations, but this is literally the logical foundation of how people like Peter Thiel think, meaning that there are billions of dollars being poured into what is essentially an epistemic fallacy. The thing people don't understand about AI acceleration...
And I completely agree. And what's funny about this is, listen, I have a Marxian theology. I think that we are evolving toward post-capitalism, socialism, whatever you want to call it. That is a theology. That is a way of looking at the world. Now, I'm not saying things always progress to a more progressive direction. I'm saying that based on my analysis of the nature of capitalism, these systems result in certain types of ruptures that will eventually lead to a more advanced... Wait, what's going on?
Good morning. This is news that we've been expecting for a long time. Manufacturing supply chain managers, especially those here in Asia, are vulnerable in many ways to just a handful of trading firms that dominate global commodities. It's an industry that's just screaming to be reformed, and it probably can't be. So what China's doing here, again, is just scrapping the system as it is and building their own. Here is the headline. Shanghai Guomao is a state-owned commodities trading company. It will vertically integrate international supply chains for commodities. The top of the supply chain is raw materials. Midstream supply chain management is refineries and global logistics. Downstream industrial operations are the last mile deliveries to factories and consumers here in China, and shortly in dozens of other countries that Guomao is going to be operating in. Word spread quickly, and the announcement came while Shanghai was hosting a big copper conference. And everybody there scrambled to find out who they need to be talking to at Guomao to buy and sell copper. Shanghai is mainland China's main financial center. Almost all the exchanges are there. And there are two important features about this that we'll tackle one at a time. The first is this one. Mica Metals is a Chinese company, and they have had a lot of problems in the past in the copper industry, notably. And Trafigura is a foreign firm. So as we go through these recent headlines for Trafigura, imagine that you are one of those downstream factories that need raw materials and the concerns that you have when you pay money to traders at Trafigura, so they'll send you what you need to build cars or ships. Here is the first from Amnesty International, which summarizes a scandal involving a ship full of hazardous waste that was dumped illegally in Africa. The company blended coker naphtha and gasoline to resell it. The waste was extremely toxic, and disposing of that was going to be expensive. The company called around to see if any countries would let them dispose of it. Malta said no, along with Italy, Gibraltar, Holland, and Nigeria. A disposal company in the Netherlands offered to take care of it safely and legally for $620,000. Trafigura said no thanks, dumped it somewhere in the Ivory Coast for $17,000, and over 100,000 people went to the hospital. In Switzerland, the government there charged Trafigura executives with bribing an official in Angola. That was last December. The company should have done more to prevent over $5 million in bribes in exchange for oil and shipping contracts over a 3-year period. The risk to an arrangement like that is that if the Angolans charge the official with corruption and Trafigura by extension, they could legally seize the outbound oil shipments that buyers have already paid for. This year, March 2025, Trafigura discovered a $1 billion loss.
Okay, I think what's being said here, chat, is China is starting to create an alternative financial system to the United States and Europe in commodities trading, where you will be able to buy copper from a Chinese guaranteed. Whereas right now, most of commodities are traded in places like Chicago. Oh boy. Uh-oh.
Multiple sources.
New North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis is saying that he's concerned about the war crimes. Now, if you don't know this, Tom Tillis, he's a Republican.
Sources are telling CNN that a highly anticipated report from the Pentagon's watchdog finds that the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, could have put U.S. troops in danger by using an app to share highly sensitive military attack plans. A classified report on what has been informally dubbed Signalgate is now in the hands of Congress tonight. The unclassified version of that report is expected to be publicly released tomorrow. And it comes as the already embattled secretary finds himself embroiled in another widening investigation. That one is into the U.S. airstrike in the Caribbean that killed survivors who did not die in the initial strike on an alleged drug boat, but instead as the result of a second one on the wrecked ship that they were clinging to. Members of both parties here in D.C. tonight have said that that strike could constitute a war crime. It's a serious allegation, and both of these events tonight have amplified concerns about the secretary himself, even from some prominent Republicans on.
Meanwhile, dumb fuck, worthless sack of shit, Hakeem Jeffries comes out and goes like, "Oh no, I'm not going to sanction, I'm not going to impeach Hegseth." And then he goes and votes for a condemned socialism bill. Trump will just pardon him. You can't pardon impeachment. Impeachment is a power of the legislature that the president cannot interfere with. You can pardon people for federal crimes, but you can't pardon out of impeachment. Wow, that was good. I just realized something, chat. We are 4.5 hours into the stream, and I forgot to shill. I haven't shilled much this week, which has kind of led to our subs dropping off of 150. It's not that big a deal, but I've just been so ranty this week, I forgot to shill. We're 4 hours and 32 minutes into the stream, and I didn't fucking shill even once. Would you consider please supporting this content? Thank you, Ridiculous, for the 12 months at tier 1, and Hi Chiro, thank you, and Nix Tix, thank you for the prime. Appreciate you. Tubby Young Bro, thank you for the 5 tier 1s. We have a hype train chat. There's a lot of people here working paycheck to paycheck. A treasure train. Whoa. We've got a rare treasure. What the fuck? I keep getting rare shit. Is this happening to everybody? If you support the stream right now, you get yourselves a 35% discount on subscriptions. Wow. By the way, chat, if you're a subscriber to this channel, not only do you get amazing emotes you could use site-wide, like DSA Coggers, you also get, and this is real, the ability to do the Twitch rewind. That means that you can go back and watch earlier parts of the VOD and then seamlessly transition to live content. Whoa! Now remember, chat, there's a lot of people here working paycheck to paycheck, parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or disability, or just regular people struggling to make ends meet. So when you give subscriptions to those people, you are helping this stream grow. You're providing those people access to exclusive emotes and Twitch Rewind. And more importantly, you are supporting me and an ad-free space on Twitch. Wow. And you make me editorially independent. I get to say what I want, when I want, and all I have to answer to is you all. It's fucking great. Snap and Crackle, thank you for the 10 tier ones. TOSDs, thank you for the 5. Ghost Dog, Mike, please make sure they're only talking about the double tap, not talking about the bigger native. It's all... Oh, no, that's not true, Ghost Dog. We actually have been talking about that. In fact, people were bringing it up on MS Now, formerly MSDNC, and they were saying the attack itself is fucking unlawful. The double tap is especially super duper illegal. I think people are starting to push that these attacks themselves are crimes. Just the first strike is a crime. The second strike is without a doubt. No one could disagree that the second strike is not a crime. Like the second strike is 100,000 quadrillion % a crime. The first strike, I think most people agree is not okay. But it's like, you know, let's say somebody gets accused of manslaughter, but you have them dead to rights for first degree murder. You can only put a murderer to death once. If you have somebody dead to rights on first degree murder, you charge them on first degree murder, even if you also have them on 80 counts of manslaughter, which you could prosecute later. The thing is, we've got to get this motherfucker on death row as soon as we can. All right, let me make sure I thank all the big gifters. Nate, Space Cap, TOSD, Snap and Crackle, the Noob Tamer, Third Rule, Zingag Super, Crispy, Bacon, Fox, Dead Guy Drives, Ham and Fist with the 20 bomb, Banjo, Tubby Young Bro. I think that's everybody. And if you subbed, resubbed, primes, thank you so much. Remember, chat, 35% off 5 or greater gifts. Ghost Dog, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you. And the top sub gifter and the top bit donor get a Hype Drake conductor badge next to your name. If you don't want me to get really pissed off of a really bad thing you said, I'm going to tell you the secret, the cheat code. I'm going to teach you the cheat code. Have the Hype Drake conductor badge. Your Sight, thank you for the 5 tier 1s. Uncle Trouble, thanks for the... Is Hassan banned? No, he's just on a flight. All right, let's keep going.
Capitol Hill. On the Signal front, you may remember it was a huge story when someone on a group chat of top government officials mistakenly added a reporter as they were talking about an imminent U.S. attack in Yemen. The secretary responded tonight by posting, quote, "No classified information, total exoneration, case closed." But Secretary Hegseth's messages included material from documents that were marked classified at the time. And while he has the power to declassify information, of course, we have not seen evidence that he did. The Secretary's real-time tracking on the Yemen mission, however, offers a pretty stark contrast to what happened with the boat strike that happened months later. Secretary Hegseth says that he stopped watching the live feed before that second strike was ordered to kill survivors. And when President Trump was asked today if he believes that anyone should be punished for targeting survivors, this is what he said from the Oval Office.
If it is found that survivors were actually killed while clinging on to that boat, should Secretary Hegseth, Admiral Bradley, or others be punished?
I think you're going to find that this is war, that these people were killing our people.
That was the president's answer. We wait to see what Admiral Bradley has to say because he's got a slew of meetings on Capitol Hill with leaders from both parties about what exactly went down. You can expect Congress to push for messages that were exchanged before that strike happened. What were the directives? What happened during the strike? And of course, what came after, along with the full video and audio of those strikes. The president today, when he was asked by reporters if he supports the release of the second strike, so everyone can see what that looks like, said yes.
Release video of that boat strike on September 2nd, but not the second video. Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release. No problem. You know, we stopped.
God, he looks terrible. Trump is looking really bad. He is looking so bad. Holy fuck. Honestly, if it wasn't because, if he didn't wear the spray tan so much, chat, I would swear he's got jaundice. Gwen Poll, thank you for the 10 tier 1s. You're the best. Seriously, I appreciate all of you for gifting. You guys are the best. Legitimately, I think he may be fucking like dying. Like maybe his liver's giving out. You wouldn't be able to, I guess you would see it in his eyes, huh?
Every boat.
Oh my, he did just get an MRI, didn't he? Trump's excuse for getting random MRI has major issue, doctor says. Dick Cheney's cardiologist dubbed cold water on Donald Trump's reasons for getting an MRI. Okay, I think, what if Trump just died? What if Dick Cheney, what if he just died? Like, what if he just dropped fucking dead? Chat, I imagine like, oh God, oh no, what if Hakeem Jeffries became president? Oh no, oh God, my life is flashing before my eyes. Donald Trump next year, after the midterms, he dies, and then he collapses onto JD Vance, and they fall down the Air Force One steps, breaking JD Vance's neck, and they both die, and then Hakeem Jeffries becomes president. Oh no! Oh God! Oh God! Oh no! Thank you guys. Choo choo, choo choo. We need him to die so now. JD Vance can't run for more than one of his own terms. I don't think JD Vance is ever going to be president. As part of President Donald J. Trump's comprehensive medical executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative to identify issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure he maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging is perfectly normal. There is no evidence of arterial narrowing, impairing blood flow, or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size. The vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. How? He eats Oreos every fucking day. He eats a new sleeve of fucking Oreos. What are you talking about? How? His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear well, very healthy, and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. This level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. As a cardiac nurse, let me tell you, evil never dies.
We saved 25,000 American lives.
I'm joined now by Republican Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina. And thank you, Senator, for being here. Welcome to The Source.
Thank you.
When it comes to this Inspector General's report, the conclusion is that, in part, that Secretary Hegseth did put American forces at risk by sharing this information in a Signal group chat. Do you agree with that conclusion?
I agree. Anytime you release mission set information before the strike, you run that risk. And thank goodness that we did not tarnish one of the most extraordinary precision strikes in recent history, because it could have been that way. And so, yeah, you got to be tight on that sort of information. That's a force.
There's no physical way, even a man of normal weight at that age has no cardiovascular issues. Not physically possible. This is just dabbing on us at this point. I mean, he's still alive, so.
Protection issue. It's a mission critical piece of information that could have been used by our adversaries to blow those planes out of the sky. You just don't do that.
Secretary Hegseth is framing it as total exoneration. Is that how you view this report that came out today?
No, I think at some point the learning experience and move on. No one can rationalize that as an exoneration. We know that mission information was outside of the classified setting that it was trusted to be in. And, Caitlin, I don't even bring into a classified briefing. We obviously don't have our phones. We don't have our watches. I don't even bring a pen in to make notes, to remove any doubt that there is something that I could have dropped or put in the trash can that I forgot about, because that's how seriously you need to take classified information. Thank God nothing bad happened. Thank God the great decision that the president made to make that strike was successful, but it could have put it at risk. And why would you send the signal that maybe this is okay? Maybe you could be exonerated by leaking information before a critical.
Okay, Chad, I am completely misled about what he was going to say. What the fuck? He's doing tricks on it.
Mission. Just let's move past it.
Well, and you mentioned classified briefings. There's about to be a few on Capitol Hill tomorrow over these alleged boat strikes and the fact that 2 survivors were clinging to a boat after one strike, and then a second strike was carried out. You said whoever ordered the second strike on the survivors needs to get the hell out of Washington.
Yeah, I stand by that.
Is the way you put it?
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth says that was Admiral Frank Bradley.
We need to get to the bottom of it. You know, I have observed in Iraq several years ago. I was in Erbil outside of Mosul, and I have observed a kinetic strike, and I know the process that you go through and the number of people that may be watching and the legal procedure that you should go through to make sure that you have the authority to do what you're doing is within legal bounds. Hopefully, we'll have a transcript of that information.
They fired all the lawyers, you dumb piece of shit. How come Republicans do nothing but lie? They do nothing but fucking lie 24/7. They fired all the lawyers, you dumb piece of shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
We'll review it and then we'll get to the facts. But at the end of the day, anyone who knowingly took on a disabled vessel, you learn that the responsibility a boater has, if you're a recreational boater, to actually come to the aid of a distressed vehicle, a vessel, if it doesn't pose a threat to you. Minimally, you should have at least followed through by trying to get assets there to apprehend them. If someone knowingly launched a second missile at that boat, which led to the deaths of the other 2, then they have to be held accountable, and they shouldn't be in whatever role they're in.
They've been putting the onus of this on the Admiral here. Do you believe that it is on him, or do you think it's on Secretary
I'll take
Hegseth?
at face value right now what Secretary Hegseth said. He said he wasn't there. He said he was busy doing other things. I would assume a part of the record was what was the other thing that he was doing that was more important than a battle damage assessment over the first strike in the Caribbean.
So you want to know where he went when he left that room?
I mean, all that's important because, see, Secretary Hegseth is the leader of arguably the most complex, consequential organization in the history of mankind. Making a bad mistake could start a war. Making a mistake can get American military personnel killed.
When's the last time an American was punished for starting a war? When's the last time an American politician was thrown out of office because they started a fucking war?
You've got to be on your execution, and you need to be tight on documenting every decision that could be subject to a question about whether or not the law of war and the law of the sea were followed. It's a legitimate question. It's not, for me, this is an operational question.
So when he says it's the fog of war and that he didn't personally see the survivors because the boat was on fire, is that a reasonable explanation
I would not
for
necessarily have expected, if you've seen these actually happen, I would not necessarily have expected the Secretary Hegseth to have seen it or noticed it. A lot of these videos can be grainy. I mean, you're in the middle of the smoke clearing. It's happening very quickly. I don't know what the timing was between the 2 strikes. So there was time compression.
He's saying the Admiral needs to fall on his sword to protect Hegseth and Trump. I want you to understand, chat, this is a so-called moderate Republican. Can you imagine a moderate Democrat trying to protect AOC? I want you to imagine that. I want you to imagine a moderate Democrat falling on their sword on CNN to protect AOC. That's not a thing. I point this out because there's no such thing as a moderate Republican, and there's no such thing as a moderate Democrat. They're all just conservatives. All right, chat. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to do an extra long stream today, I cannot. But be hearkened. We have a place to go, especially if you hate Ethan Klein. Adams is covering and kind of giving some commentary on where she's thinking with her lawsuit. And Adams has the resources if you help Ethan Klein all the way to trial. Thank you everybody for all the support. I really do appreciate you. Here's all of my links. Let me spam the Discord because we are going to be watching Mussolini. What is it? Man of the Century on the Discord at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be watching, I think, a couple episodes of that. Son of the Century. Thank you. That's what it is. Mussolini, Son of the Century. So come hang out. Thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals for chilling out with me today. And I'll see you tonight. Solidarity forever, my friends. And congratulations to Kaceytron for absolutely bamboozling Ethan Klein. We love to see it. All right, everybody. Stay safe. I'll see you tonight. Peace out.